Katapatush, Yahweh, Katantuit, Numani Tuman. Katapatush Wichi, Kin Wuni. Katapatush Wichi, Kenomu, Yeshua. Katapatush Wichi Wami, Noa Mani Tuk, Nutuk Soak. Kosuta Yumu, Wichi Kin, Musukin Ka Kawayantum. Kin Nita, To Tubutni. Ninwayan, Yahweh, Katantuit, Numani Tuman. Ninwayan Wichi Chusuta. Ninwayan, Uchi Keen, Uni. Aho. Ya ha ya we ha ya we ya ho we yo. Ya we ha ya we ya ho we yo. Hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. We ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya we ya, we ya ho we yo. Ya we ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. We ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. Ya we ya, we ya ho we yo, ya we ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. We ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. Ya we ya, we ya ho we yo, ya we ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo, we ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey. We ya hey ya, we yo ya hey ya, we ya ho we yo, hey ya hey yo. ya hey hi ya, way ya ho way yo, hey ya way hi ya, way ya ho way yo, ya way hi ya, way ya ho way yo, hey yo. Way ya hey hi ya, way ho hi ya hey hi ya, way ya hi ya ho way yo, hey yo, way ya hey hi ya, way ya ho way yo, hey ha, way ya hey hi ya, way ho hi ya hey hi ya. Way ya ho way yo, hey yo. Way ya hey ya, way ya ho way yo, hey ya way ya, way ya ho way yo, ya way ya, way ya ho way yo. Hey yo, way ya hey ya, way yo ya hey ya, way ya ho way yo, hey yo, way ya hey ya, way ya ho way yo, hey. Way ya hey ya, way yo ya hey ya, way ya ho way yo, hey yo, way ya hey ya, way ya ho way yo, hey. I hope.
Hello. Wigwosen nitampa kanatawama gaskata squamson nutuis nisu wishawanag nin Director General to Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas ka kwe ut a 10-year anniversary commemoration of our charter. Greetings, family and friends. My name is Nisu Wishwanag, which translates in the English language into Two Hawks. I'm the Director General for the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas, and it is my great honor and pleasure to have you all here as we host our 10-year anniversary of the commemoration of the Charter of the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. The Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas was chartered on December 5th, 2015 by three FANA nations, the Meshipag-Nahigantat tribe, of which I am the Chippewa Sachem, the Pokanoket tribe of the Pokanoket Nation, and the Sandhill Band of Lenape and Cherokee Indians. The Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas is a confederation of pre-colonial American Indian tribes and nations that are ancestral inhabitants to the lands contemporarily referred to as the Americas. FANA works collectively to develop and implement policies, procedures, and initiatives that ensure and support the public safety, economic and cultural progress, and general well-being of the FANA member nations and their tribal citizens. Operating through private foreign American Aborigine Tribal Trust, established according to International Hague Trust Treaty standards, FANA assists its member nations in addressing violations of their inherent Aboriginal and human rights by shedding light on the over 600 years of ancestral lineage the FANA member nations possess. The mission of FANA is to provide leadership and serve as the collective voice for the development of the mass unification of the Aboriginal tribes and nations of the Americas. And the vision of FANA is to be the catalyst and foundational federation for the progression of global respect and support for the Aboriginal tribes and nations of the Americas. As I mentioned, FANA is comprised of FANA member nations. FANA member nations are not federally recognized, nor are they seeking to secure any federal recognition relationship, and that is with, by no means, any disrespect to any of our federally recognized nations. That is just not the path that the FANA nations are pursuing. Rather, the FANA member nations possess a pre-colonial American Indian tribal status, standing, and jurisdiction, whose aboriginality and inherent sovereignty is not subject to recognition from any foreign person, entity, or nation. This inherent sovereignty and pre-colonial status, standing, and jurisdiction of the FANA member nations is substantiated by a number of key criteria. These include having Aboriginal and historic ties to specific ancestral territories, so territoriality, a tribal body comprised of tribal citizens with direct blood heritage to their respective and specific tribal nation, leaderships with direct blood lineage from prominent chiefs who were acknowledged during first contact and colonial era periods, or with a maintained presence in and relationship with their ancestral lands, international commercial viability, an organized and functioning tribal governance structure, an acknowledgement from other pre-colonial, inherently sovereign American Indian tribes, which is what FANA member nation status brings. That was just a brief introduction to the Federation, but it's now time to move on to actually hearing from some of our FANA member nations that are here. So simply because I have the microphone, I will start with myself, representing the Mashipag Nahiganset tribe. The Mashipag Nahiganset tribe are from what folks contemporarily know as the Narragansetts here in Rhode Island. We were here when the English arrived, in large part. Reason that the first peace treaty was signed with the Pilgrims was because of conflicts with the Narragansetts. The Mashipogs are one of the 3 tribes that were mentioned in the original boundaries for the settlement of Providence, which was founded by Roger Williams. Those 3 tribes being the Nutakonkanets, the Patuxets, and lastly, the Mashipogs, all falling underneath the Nanhiganuk Songtumunk, which is the Nanhiganuk Sachendom. We maintain our presence at our ancestral lands, which are located at Mashipog Pond in Providence, Rhode Island. And we are of direct bloodlines. If you are familiar with traditional Lenni Lenape culture, we be considered Turtle Clan descendants from the chiefs of the tribe. I myself, as Chippewa Sachem, can claim descendancy from Canonicus, who was the chief that befriended Roger Williams, this one who founded Rhode Island. Also from Chief Brister Michael, who was a council chief of the Narragansett tribe of Indians in 1881 when the state of Rhode Island forcefully and illegally detribalized them. And then also from Chief George Red Fox Watson, who led the Narragansett Indian tribe for federal recognition in the late 1970s, early 1980s. The Mashipog Nahiganset tribe, we consist of a number of Wutawunks, which are clans in our language, 12 to be exact. Each clan appoints an Atusko Sachem or Atusko Sungsqua to serve on the Council of Atusko Sachemog, or Council of Atusko Chiefs. And then that council elects a Chimpanuk, which I serve in that capacity to serve as the chair and representative of the council as a whole. So I bring you greetings today on behalf of the Mashipog Nahiganset tribe, and are well pleased to see so many of you in attendance here with us today. I am just checking my list here. I'm going to promote a few different folks to be participants. But I'm going to, at this time, as soon as I find him, ask if Chief Yonaguska would bring remarks on behalf of the Sandhill Band of Lenape and Cherokee Indians. 1 second. Yes, Lorena. No. Yes, Lorena, you have the floor.
Oh, we're since we're sharing a computer, he's right next to me, so we're going to be working under my Zoom name.
Very good. Well, you can feel free to if he wants to show his face, and the floor is
How do
his.
Here, so sorry. So for some reason, they made me update my Zoom, and I can't find how to turn on my camera. I thought maybe you had the control for that.
No, I don't think so. Let me.
I apologize. Do you have any idea how I can find it? Oh, that's terrible. Because we don't see it anywhere.
I don't know. All right, well, I'll just start without a picture.
Oh, that's terrible. Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Would you like me to start without a picture, Chief?
Yes.
You may start, Chief, and I'll see if I can figure anything out on my end.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ronald Yonaguska Holloway, and I am the principal blood chief of the Sandhill Indians, historically known as the Raritan, and we're a composite of the Delaware Nation. Our ancestral lands are New Jersey, all of it, 70 miles into Pennsylvania in all directions from the New Jersey border, and the five boroughs of New York. We are comprised primarily of 12 clans. Each clan has a clan chief. Traditionally, the clan mothers pick the clan chiefs. Currently, according to our traditions, we have a council of 5 people, which are staffed by the ancestral blood descendants of those that are entitled to those ancestral seats. I am the son of Medicine Crow, who was the cousin of Wisa or Sam Beeler, who was picked by our previous chief, James Lone Bear Reedy, who was the spokesperson for the Delaware Nation. I have been the principal chief for close to 15 years. Before that, I was the tribal chairman for 2 years, and before that, I served on tribal council. My tribe, the Sandhill, were honored to be founding members of FANA. And quite frankly, being part of FANA has allowed us to restore our tribal skeleton, reattach sinew, muscles, flesh, and have renewed breath of life breathed into our tribe. FANA has given us most everything a modern indigenous sovereign people need to recover from the past atrocities committed by the colonial powers and their successor nation states, with the putting together of vast and numerous internal and external treaties. We've been able to acquire an international court system, an international human rights tribunal, a fully staffed legal department, and international banking. Our tribe has been able to secure through FANA commerce treaties which ensure that our tribe's descendants for the next generation, next 7 generations, will be able to eat, have food, and have all of their needs taken care of. That is why my tribe now has the ability and is in the process of laying the groundwork to roll out our own sovereign medical clinics, independent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and operated by our tribe in conjunction with FANA. With all those bases covered, it has allowed a very unique position for me as chief. It's given me the flexibility to use new strategies and employ never-seen tactics to advance the planning for the future of our tribe. We've set up a number of initiatives that ensure that instead of just barely surviving as the dominant society would like us to do, and then having that society dictate to us our circumstances, we've created a future where the tribe will not only survive, but it'll thrive. A future with land and housing, commerce, import, export, banking, and the like, all working within the legal global system. We do not need the BIA to tell us, guide us, or give us their permission to do anything, as FANA is an organization of sovereign tribes that are underpinned by sovereign to sovereign treaties that are both historical and contemporary. Where once our tribe was an island unto itself, now we are globally plugged in. We have treaties that extend the Sandhills reach and into Canada, Polynesia, Africa, Mexico, Central America, South America, Belize, and throughout the Caribbean. FANA's been sent, in our opinion, by the Creator and the ancestors to uplift and rebuild and fortify not only our tribe, but all the FANA members, putting us in a position to be able to thrive again for the next 7 generations. To the tribal representatives of free sovereign indigenous people, I'd like to say, come join us in FANA. In all the years affiliated with FANA, I can honestly say there has never been one argument, outburst, or anything of that kind. It's as if you and your favorite first cousins are sitting around trying to figure out what's best for the family, and then we just implement it. Governance is horizontal, as our constitution is modeled after the UAE and how all of those tribes and sheiks came together. Each sovereign chief is not above the other, but on a horizontal peerage, and is mandated by our constitution to take a department and develop it. Sovereignty is important to us, as only true sovereigns can treaty with each other. My tribe is sovereign, as are all of the FANA tribes, and in FANA we respect that sovereignty to the point of developing joint legal strategies to support each other to that end. Our membership in FANA has given my tribe more involvement, as it created a Congress, a Chiefs Council, and ambassadors to countries around the globe, and more of my tribe members are involved. This has given the tribal membership such a boost that we have more than doubled in size since joining FANA. Tribal members are talking about the tribe and the prospects for a bright future. In turn, the news is traveling to those that have given up, and now they're coming back. They're calling and inquiring about how to reactivate their membership with the tribe. It's because they see things happening and they want to be a part of it. FANA has done this for my tribe, and it can do that for yours as well. Our affiliation with FANA has changed the entire tribal mindset, from that of fighting under the table like little dogs for scraps from the master, to understanding that the entire table is ours, down to the wood that built it, because that wood came from our forests. The water in the pitchers comes from our rivers, and even the vegetables on that table come from our gardens. Coming together and comparing each other's treaty rights has given our people a new understanding of our true legal standing, domestically and internationally. And FANA's overall program fortifies that understanding. For those large confederations that are made up of multiple sovereign tribes like FANA, treaty with us, sovereign to sovereign. No need to reinvent the wheel. We would love to share with you the bright future that we are creating for the tribes of FANA and like-minded individuals. The Sandhill are absolutely thrilled to be part of FANA. It is nice to be part of our long, historic brotherhood on the Eastern Seaboard. We have compiled all of the tribes that are left and freestanding of note and put them all together into one organization. And to the chiefs of the FANA nations, thank you very much for working shoulder to shoulder with me in creating this bright future for my tribe, and not only my tribe, but for all the tribe and the tribal members of the FANA nations. And we at the Sandhill would just like to thank everybody that's been a part of FANA, that is in FANA, and that has treated with us. It has expanded our future, and we look forward to doing even more wonderful things within the FANA organization, not only on behalf of the Sandhill and our membership that extends between New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, but wherever they are within the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. I'm getting a few questions. So there are two different spaces for engagement. Everyone who's coming in generally are attendees. So there's limited ability to access. This is a webinar. It's not a regular Zoom. For those who will be speaking, I will promote you to a panelist. And once you become a panelist, you should have the ability to turn your videos on and off. As you can see, Chief Eagle Oaks here, Chief Gallo was here a moment ago. And I'm going to ask at this time if Chief Cacique Turegwa Taino Kai would bring greetings on behalf of the Sibuko Bayamon Taino tribe.
Tau, Taiwei, Tareku, and Usa, Kasakabo. These are the greetings of the day. Diosana Buria da Kaupia, Diosana Buria da Kadi. I am a servant of my ancestors. I am a servant of my people. My address, my words are going to be about specifically what FANA's meant to me. I'll say this. I grew up visiting my father in prison. I grew up visiting my uncles in prison. And that eventually turned to visiting my cousins, my contemporaries of my same age in prison. I always knew and understood because I was told by my father, my mother, by my grandparents that we were Indians, that we were the children of the Taino. But I grew up in a space where it didn't matter. I guess identity didn't matter when you grow up in a system that seeks to take you and standardize you and turn you into a color. So I understood that everyone wore a mask around me. I eventually joined the military, and I was on the other side of the world, behind the gun, looking at folks who I could relate to the point that I gleaned reflection from this on my return. And I was tasked with working in and serving in the Fort Sill Museum in the military, seeing the profiles of the Comanche and the Apache, Geronimo and Crazy Horse, and seeing where they were held and how they fought, sacrificed, suffered, and died, and where they were buried. All of these reflections led me on my exit from service to reflect on life and what I had learned and what I related to, and how I related to these archetypical characters of chiefs, and how I related to the identity and the machine of colonialism. And that led me to decide that I would walk the path of creating a ministry of life for my family to help us, that the cycles would not be repeated. So that work and that walk led me on a divine path to come across individuals who had an understanding and had faced some of the same traumas. And we continued and grew, and through growing our families, we did find the structure to structure ourselves as legitimate sovereign tribes based in tribal trust and learning law. And so being around FANA and all of the advancement that has allowed for the idea of advancement for my people has been a confirmation. The chiefs on this council are archetypes of integrity, examples of leadership, and have been to me the epitome of resilience in spite of countless attempts to stop them from working for the advancement of their people. So being in FANA has meant that I had the support to believe that a day, tomorrow, a future and the past can be reconciled at the same time as walking and living the path of honoring our ancestors, knowing their names, saying them, and working forward to rid our children of the same struggles and work to fix the wrongs or to undo the wrongs of 7 generations back, thinking 7 generations forward. So it's been a very powerful experience. I am thankful and in gratitude to the Most High, to the ancestors, to Pias, to our history, our identity, and our creator. And so there's nothing I can put into words outside of that. It's a divine thing. It's a beautiful thing. And we are doing the work, which makes the imagining the inception of any future possible through this federation, through the brother and sisterhood of leaders. And that's what I have to say. Thank you very much to everyone. Yes.
Thank you very much for your very profound and motivational words, sir. Pleasure and an honor. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Chief Lavelle Eagle Elk Pierce of the Cape Fear Band of Skururi and Wokan Indians to share his remarks. Chief, please.
Thank you, Yahweh, for allowing me to be able to speak to all of you. So, how are you? Greetings. Waha Huatakre. I belong to the nation of Skurure Wokan. Skurure is how we call ourselves. Outsiders refer to us as Tuscarora. You will commonly see that in books, internet, and so forth. We're Tuscarora. We're in the Cape Fear region of North Carolina. Chikora is the territory. Villages, San Domingo, Wopana, all the way to Mitchell Field. And there's more. We live in a territory where there's thousands of relatives here. North Carolina is a very indigenous conscious state with its problems. With that comes a lot of distrust, jealousy, enmity, and all the things that the colonial scars left. So 10 years ago, close to 10 years ago, I think it was close, somewhere around 2018, I reached out to Chief Two Hawks, and we had very good dialogue. And then I got to meet some of the other chiefs, and we expressed our interest in becoming a part of the Federation. So we made a trip up to Rhode Island with a few of the elders. And that's when I got to meet everyone. And ever since then, it's been rocking and rolling and moving forward. What I have found personally is, as a collective, we've been able to do some wonderful things. I like to say, Wakayas Nariske, we are stronger together. And it's evident with the things that all of the member nations together collectively have been able to do. With the international presence, with all of the new families internationally that we are meeting with and becoming Wakayas Nariske with, stronger together with, it filled a void that I've experienced in the state where I live at. Many of the nations, many of the tribes here are related to each other. We're related to, I think, every tribe, maybe except for the Cherokee. And we may have some, yeah, no, there's some relatives that are kin to them too. We're all related. And that takes you back to the sacred circle and all those wonderful teachings that you hear across Turtle Island about us being one. My relatives, Matayo Yasin, if I'm not, I may be saying that wrong. Our wonderful Lakota family have a way of expressing that. But FANA has really brought that home. We feel like we have a home. Could we have done this individually? Sure, probably, more than likely, because we have a lot of motivated people in our nation. However, we are stronger together. So as the member nations, I feel like this is creator and ancestors walking through us so we can speak for them. They don't have the voice to speak today. They were silenced. We're not. We know the law that our ancestors didn't know. And we know how to maneuver in this system of colonialism that our ancestors didn't have time to learn. And just this conference right here is proof of what motivated individuals and nations moving in the right way, honoring the great law, not closing off the ends where other nations can come on, but it's open for like-minded, just like Chief Yanaguska said. Come and talk to us. You might be interested in how we're moving and what we're doing. There's a strong possibility if you have the conversation first, leave assumptions at home. If you want to have a conversation on how to move forward in this system that's not designed for us, then you need to have a conversation with FANA. I think it would be very beneficial. It's been very beneficial for me, for my family, for our tribal members, and I see it's beneficial for all the other FANA member nations as well. So thank you, everyone, for allowing me to speak and give a word. I'll pass it further.
Tapatous Chief, and thank you very much for speaking so highly of the Federation. And it's been an honor and a pleasure having you and your folks come on board with us to help us move the work forward, Chief. Before I invite our next chief to speak, FANA, because of the profundity of the work that we're doing, and because, as Cacique Turegua said, there have been ongoing attempts to derail or get in the middle of or just slow down the progress that the Federation's been making. FANA has implemented a 6 to 9 month vetting process for any FANA member nations, nations that are interested in becoming FANA member nations. But before you even get to the vetting process, you have to first be recommended by a current FANA member nation. We implemented this because it gives us the time to get to know the individuals that potentially are coming on board to help grow the Federation, to learn about their culture and their ways, to share each of our individual cultures and ways, and as Chief Yanaguska said, to make sure that it's a good fit. Kindred spirits are so important in any work that you're doing. And we have in our time with the Federation had folks come on board that eventually, one way or another, made their way off from the Federation, whether that was through voluntarily deciding to step away, or whether that was being called into a Chiefs Council to address conduct that was believed to be unbecoming. We are very guarded about who we allow into our circle. We welcome all who meet the criteria and are interested in moving in the right space, but we don't just let anyone in the door. And that's important because, as you will continue to hear throughout this conversation, we are not operating for our here and now. We are operating for the next 7 generations to come. And shame on us if we make rash decisions now based upon what we perceive as an immediate opportunity that cuts out the legs from or stymies progress that our future generations may be looking to move forward. So I say all that to say that we have just had our next chief in his nation complete I think it was about a 6-month process with his folks. His people's history and background spoke for itself. He was because he's in their territory, sponsored by our Sandhill family, and he became immediately involved in the chief council, sharing his thoughts, lending his resources and supports in whatever form or fashion that he could. And there really wasn't, I don't think, any point where any chief or any member nation of FANA was like, we're not sure about him. So, with that being said, it is my great honor and pleasure to invite up Chief Gallo, the newest Atusco chief of the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas, to bring words of greeting on behalf of his people, the Lenca Nation. Chief Gallo, please, I'll turn the microphone over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chief Two Hawks, for those kind words. Shambagashi, Kieri, Shi Mukta, Tumal Sinu. These are our greetings in Lenca Poton, Lenca Taulepa, Lenca Kotik, and Pisbi, which are the languages that we use nowadays in all our Lenca communities here in the United States and the diaspora, in El Salvador and in Honduras. Honorable chiefs, elders, leaders, and cherished relatives of the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the America. It is with profound gratitude and a heart full of ancestral pride that I stand before you on behalf of the Lenca people. We offer our deepest thanks to FANA for the great honor of inducting the Lenca Guajikiro, Awanketerique clan of New York, and the United North American Council of the Lenca Nation into the esteemed federation. We extend our warmest brotherly thanks to Chief Ronald Yanaguska Holloway and the Sandhill Band of Lenape and Cherokee for your gracious sponsorship. Your support is a powerful bridge between our people, a living testament to the solidarity and shared destiny of indigenous nations across Turtle Island and beyond. We are the Lenca, a people whose roots in Central America reach back over 10,000 years. We are the original inhabitants of the lands known today as El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. We are not merely a historical footnote. We are a living nation with a continuous history, a sovereign governance embodied in our Royal House of the Jaguar, an unbreakable connection to our ancestral territory, which we call Managuara. Our history is one of an ancient civilization of powerful alliances formed by what we call the Guancasco, and our deep cosmology that honors the creation, the earth, and the stars. It is also a history of immense resilience, resistance against colonialization, survival through forced displacement, and the enduring struggle to maintain our identity, languages, and sovereignty in the face of centuries of challenge. From the legendary leadership of the warriors like our Comishawal, Antu Silan Ulap, and Chief Lempira, to the quiet perseverance of our grandparents and our parents who migrated here during the diaspora in the 80s and 90s. Today, we carry the spirit forward. We give special thanks to the guiding lights, our clan mother, Comishawal Nanamparo of Yucuaiquín, and all the chiefs across El Salvador and Honduras. And special thanks, Tata Mario Salvador Hernandez of Guatayagua, Tata Sari, Jesus Chavez of Quelepatique, Salomon Canales of Usulután, Alcides Reyes of Conchagua, Pedro Amaya of Nahuaterique, Juana Perez of Chilanga, also to Bertita Zuniga Cáceres of Copin, Felipe Benitez Vasquez, Maria Felicita Lopez of Asilpas, to our friends in Nahuaterique, Abdon Ventura, Emilia, to our friends in Silcruzama, Jaira Castillo, muchas gracias por todo el apoyo. Rosario García de la Mesa Lenca, Martín Vázquez de Milpa y el pueblo Tolupán. También muchas gracias a mi amigo Tata Gustavo Peneira. I thank you very much for allowing me to say these words. I give the floor back to you, Chief Two Hawks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Galo. Katapatush, and welcome to our Lenka family. We are honored to have formal relationships with you all through our individual nations and through the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. You have made us that much stronger. You have made our footprint that much larger. And we are so pleased and honored and excited at what we will do together in the future on behalf of all of the Aboriginal and Indigenous peoples of these lands that they call the Americas. Katapatush, Chief, thank you very much for your presence. All right. At this time, I will turn the microphone back over to Chief Yanagusko, who at this time will not be speaking as the chief of the Sandhill Band of Lenape and Cherokee Indians, but rather as the FANA Minister of International Affairs. International Minister, the floor is yours.
Is that working this time, Chief? Can you see me and hear me? All right.
We can see and hear you, Chief.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Ronald Yonaguska Holloway, and I have the privilege of serving as FANA's Minister of International Affairs. As a founding member of FANA, I've been entrusted with this position, a position that scrutinizes all prospective FANA applicants to make sure that their history and compatibility are in line with FANA's direction, ideology, constitution, and energy. In addition to that, I scour the nation states of the globe to find indigenous tribes, tribal organizations, tribal confederations, and sovereign governments that are willing and capable of signing sovereign-to-sovereign treaties with FANA. This process is monumentally important to understand, as only true sovereigns can sign treaties with each other. Sovereignty cannot be bestowed, that is inherent with the sovereign. And in the case of indigenous sovereignty, it predates the colonial genocidal period that modern history has taught us. As we look around the world, we see that there are many nation states, and the vast amount of them are successor states from the colonial period. This is important to understand, as world dominance is at a point of a barrel of a gun. Occupation of land, enslavement of peoples, attempted genocide of those people, and then the assassination of their rightful leadership is not a mark of sovereignty. It's the equivalent of carjacking, where everyone in the car except for one person is murdered, and the survivor is thrown in the trunk of the car. That's not true sovereignty. Sovereignty is not and cannot be bestowed by any person or state, but is inherent. It cannot be stolen. The sovereignty always resides with the people to whom it belongs. So using those standards on behalf of all of the FANA member nations, I seek out true sovereigns. That's not true sovereignty. Sorry about that. Sovereigns that can substantiate continuity from before the murderous European expansion. To explain this clearly, I look at the root system of the tree, the soil itself, if you would, not the carpet that's laid upon it. I oversee all external interactions on behalf of FANA, even down to our interactions at the United Nations. In order to accomplish this mandate, the ministry began to court other non-BIA affiliated tribes to join us in gathering regional tribal leaders, then expanding that inner circle to reach out to other groups, such as the Polynesian Kingdom of Atui and its representatives, culminating in the signing of a historic peace treaty, friendship treaty, and a health and wellness treaty, whose signing was hosted by the Seneca Nation in Niagara Falls at their beautiful casino. During the Congresso International in 2020 and 2021, we urged indigenous leaders in Central and South America to do the same, to gather, to form regional groups, take stock of collective education and skill sets, confederate and make treaties amongst themselves. At those meetings, our current ambassador to the United Nations, Ms. Maria Cosme, addressed the chiefs and dignitaries on the topic of actionable sovereignty. She explained that sovereignty is not a piece of paper and can't be granted you. You either are or you're not. How a sovereign carries themselves and executes their lawful rights is paramount. The ministry has developed treaties of friendship, of health and wellness, such as the Treaty of Montauk, cooperation agreements, the creation of observer status for future FANA members, and for treaty making with larger international organizations so that we can come together within naturalistic timeframes and build cohesion. The drafting and development of these instruments is based on a genuine fellow feeling and a true wanting to reestablish the old ties. What really helps is I don't want anything from these tribes. We don't want their land, we don't want their assets or anything from them. We just aim to reestablish the old communication system and be of assistance in their reclaiming sovereign rights. As I'm a bit old school, I've been known to have delegations from other countries come up to the house in the mountains and stay for days at a time so that we can talk in the old ways, as if they were runners from another tribe. We put a pot of beans on, we put mattresses on the floor, and eventually they get asked the question, how can I be of assistance to your people? The reason for that is I have to know what each side needs, as these treaties are supposed to reconnect all of us, and I am charged by my tribe and FANA to always look 7 generations out. FANA and I want all of our lost family back. All of FANA's tribes are sovereign, a fact held up by their treaties with colonizing powers prior to the formation of the United States and with subsequent treaties with the founding fathers, and the developments from them are significant. The ministry oversees most everything that is outward facing for FANA, even in business contracts such as the one with Unidoc to provide medical equipment to all of the indigenous of the world. In general, I handle all negotiations with chiefs and government officials in preparation for the process of agreeing on treaty terms. Once the understanding has been reached, I craft an initial writing of these treaties personally to ensure that all the parties are happy with the general energy, flow, and spirit of the agreement. I make it a point to stay intently focused on how the Creator and the ancestors will view this work. As the years progressed, I undertook a program of finding the best and brightest ambassadors to place around the globe to achieve long-term strategic and tactical goals to advance and expand FANA's membership and find like-minded sovereigns to treaty with. My Chief of Staff, Chief Douglas Scott, who is from the Canadian side of the Iroquois, has been working with me tirelessly for the last 9 years, finding the highest educated and competent individuals available. Each of these ambassadors has been hand-selected by me personally in consultation with Chief Scott, and I will add that no one who works in my ministry takes a salary. That's important to note. They are all committed to the program we've put together, and we have had the privilege of placing FANA ambassadors throughout the United States, Africa, Mexico, Central and South America, Asia, Canada, and the Caribbean. As a result of this coverage, the ministry has been blessed with abundant success. We've been able to execute numerous treaties with large portions of Polynesia, from Hawaii to Tahiti, Canada, Belize, Suriname, the United States, the Caribbean, the 6th region of the African Union, as well as a very special treaty that we are excited to announce later this evening. Our ambassadorial department fields inquiries from around the globe. Chief Scott and I prioritize, categorize, and provide feedback and guidance to our ambassadors in the field with a view to seeing whether these contacts are able to work with FANA through treaty, or they should be moved to the internal joining FANA as a member nation process. In select cases, we just provide organizational assistance to help them solidify and stand up their sovereign rights. We at FANA understand that indigenous is a very big word and not confined to just the tribes of the United States. All indigenous were tribal before the attempted genocide by the Europeans. Whether they were slaughtered and enslaved by the Dutch, the French, the English, the Spanish, the Portuguese, or their successor contemporary nation states. We had relations with many of these tribal nations during the old Great League. We traded with each other and had reliable ties. We don't believe that any one tribe is better than another, and we at the ministry are committed to reestablishing those old relations according to the way our ancestors did prior to Columbus getting lost and coming here. To that end, the ministry has written health and wellness treaties, peace treaties, commerce treaties, domestic court treaties, international human rights tribunal treaties, and international banking treaties. These treaties have tied indigenous groups together from around the world with entire infrastructure that FANA built out, a complete sovereign infrastructure that is underpinned by historical and modern sovereign-to-sovereign treaties. All treaties are reviewed and adjusted to meet the necessary domestic and international legal requirements by FANA's Indian law bar-admitted attorneys, who are all chiefs themselves and overseen by our Director General, Chief Two Hawks. This afternoon and evening for many of our guests, you will hear from dignitaries representing their peoples from other continents who FANA has treated with, as well as FANA ambassadors from Canada, South America, India, and the United States on the projects that they are undertaking on behalf of FANA. And we will be announcing our newest global treaty that's been signed and saved for this space tonight. When the program is complete, you will have a map to understand the scope of Indigenous connections that are underway. We have done our research and concluded that historically the headcount of FANA, its member nations, as well as its treaty allies around the globe, is larger than the old Great League. Also, you will see the affiliation and cross-treaty work that has been stabilized, giving us a headcount that is larger than quite a few of the nation states that exist inside and outside of the United Nations. And I'm pleased to tell you we have so much more in queue for 2026 that we will have another banner year of treaty work and cross-connecting the world's Indigenous. From FANA, the Ministry of International Affairs, and myself, thank you for attending our 10-year anniversary. I turn it back to you, Chief.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you for that fantastic update on the tremendous work that you were doing with the ministry. I am always blown away every time we connect on what you have got in store. And I am very certain, as you spoke, as we get a little bit further on in our agenda, when they hear what you recently helped to spearhead to accomplish, folks will understand why I say to you, I honor you, Chief. Thank you for the work you do for us. Thank you for the work you do for future generations. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be working along your side. All right. We're going to move on in our agenda. This next individual, I am extremely pleased to have him here with us. He has been a personal mentor and friend of mine in the legal sphere, assisting me actually in meeting all of the requirements to graduate from Roger Williams University School of Law, by allowing me to intern with him to get our intertribal court system up and running. And working with him to develop the updated constitution. And just so many things. Every time I speak to him, I learn something new, and not just something new that is applicable and beneficial, because I learn lots of new things every day. And sometimes I'm just like, well, I wish I didn't learn that, because that's of no benefit whatsoever. But that's never the case with this next gentleman. My goodness, the number of titles that the man has, I've never met anyone like it. And then when you speak to him, you understand why he has them all. So let me stop my my remarks and allow the individual to speak for himself. I will now turn the microphone over to His Excellency Lord Chief Justice Robert Orville Thomas, first Taupo of the FANA Intertribal Court System. Lord Thomas, always an honor and a pleasure, sir. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
Always an honor, Chief Two Hawks. A pleasant good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are across the globe. It's a great privilege to be here today. Goodness me, I'm completely blown away. So we start by greeting all the chiefs, Chief Janauska, Chief Gollum Moreno, Chief Tahino, and all the respective chiefs. It's been an interesting journey, least to say. Chief Scott, as it was described, was the person that actually found me into the parts of FANA. And when we started speaking, we started talking about, what has been happening throughout the journey of our history and our people. And one of the things that we identified is the need to do something about it. And so we started to look at the framework of how court systems have been working across the world. And from very inception, whether we looked at Islamic law, or we looked at the Torah system, or whether we looked at the Magna Carta, across all of them, we found something in common. Despite the indigenous tribes being more ancient than most of the formalized, civilized so-called society, the indigenous courts did not have a formal settings in place, and therefore a legal voice or a legal stand was always watered down or minimized. And so somewhere around the 2020, 2021 mark, during the time of a lockdown and a pandemic, we were working. And during that tenure is where we started a fantastic journey. Sleepless nights, needs to say. Chief Two Hawks may remember them. Chief Janauska will remember them. Chief Scott will remember them. And we were back and forward alongside all the teams that were putting and drafting documents together to reach to where we are today. And we started by looking at where can we gain a right of entry? What is the merit basis of it? It was a great privilege, Chief Two Hawks, to work with you. And I'm pleased to say I am extremely honored. Not only did he graduate with very good distinction, but it's not everybody that graduates cum laude. So I want to make sure that that's also something noticed, that one of my proudest moments is to work with yourself, sir. And you've made us all proud. Not only that, subsequently of completing his studies, went on to actually pass the bar. And so he qualifies not just in indigenous knowledge, but on the peripheral of whatever legal stand is required. And that is the drive and the aim of this court, is to prepare more of our own people to handle the actual aspects of the indigenous principles. Now, what was our point of departure? Well, we started looking at what gives us the right. And the first point that we encountered, according to not the Kansas, if anybody's wondering what's Kansas, that's Canada, New Zealand, US, and Australia, who were the last resistance to what is being affirmed as international law recognition into different sovereignties. But in 2007, the UN General Assembly adopted what is called and known as the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, today known as UN DRIPT. And within it, there were some key pillars that were established. And I will just touch on a few of them. Number one was equality and non-discrimination. That means that indigenous people were free and of equal stands to all the other, with a right for freedom operation and from any type of discrimination. We then looked at the second point, which was self-determination, and I want to step on into that because it's the right to self-govern, autonomy, and defining their own priorities. And I will want to repeat that. It is the right to self-government, autonomy, and defining our own priorities. The third point they made clear under this declaration is that land, territories, and resources, right to own, use, develop, control our own traditional land and resources. And point number 4 is culture and identity, right to remain, revitalize, and practice cultural tradition, language, and spiritual beliefs. And therefore, we identified that 98% of the external or other court system had no knowledge or no awareness of how the culture, the traditions, or the self-determination and the rights of indigenous people worked. And therefore, it was necessary to have people that came from these tribes to actually set up how that tribe should be judged. And so the Federation of Aboriginal Native Americans adopted what today we have as our tribal court system. And that goes beyond the remit of just internalized or localized affairs, but all the things that touches us internationally. And I'm proud to state that that court did not just stay within the confinements of what is known as the walls of the United States, but today it has tentacles expanding throughout the North Americas, all the way from Alaska right back down, and expanding into other places. And even so, continuing to make history by today that we have, and later on in the program you will see, being able to fortify relationships with other tribunals and other international court systems. So I am pleased to announce and very proud of the work that we have done so far, highlighting the strength, the value, and the capacity of what hard work can do. Today, proudly, after more than 500 years of denial, there is an indigenous court system, live and active, and very much growing strongly, with the contribution of all of the representatives of FANA and with the participation of other friendly member states, with a large interest in seeing things progress. And so we will be looking to commence organizing, monitoring, and preserving our own laws. I yield. Thank you. Tapakanushka.
Thomas, thank you very much for your good words, sir. And definitely excited, as with everything else, to see where the court system continues to advance, bringing justice to indigenous nations, not just here in the Americas, but across the world. All right. So our next speaker, it's just been a pleasure to get to know her, to work with her. As Chief Yanaguska pointed out, we have grown to develop relationships beyond just here on this side of the pond, as they say. And that's because we understand that prior to European colonization, there were relationships that existed. There is this narrative that no connections were made throughout the worlds and no one, and that's just simply not true. The other side to that is that the nations that were here were the nations that were here. It did not take folks from other places to come here and to bring civilization. So there's a lot of clarity that needs to be addressed in terms of past relations. But our thing is we don't want to stay stuck in what happened in the past. We view ourselves as not victims, not even survivors, but thrivers. We're moving on. Our ancestors survived those things, and they survived it so that we could be here thriving and moving forward. And so, of course, that means reestablishing and then strengthening relationships that, had colonization not taken place, would be quite strong today, and probably leading the world in terms of commerce, economic development, legal affairs, all of these sorts of things that the world holds as sort of matter-of-fact things today that they don't necessarily associate with indigenous folks. So with that being said, it is my extreme honor and pleasure, and I believe it. I keep telling Chief Yanaguska that it is an HRH. Am I correct with that, Vice Prime Minister? I see the smile. So it is my great honor and pleasure to turn the microphone over to Her Royal Highness Keturah Amaoko, First Vice Prime Minister of the State of the African Diaspora. Your Highness, a pleasure and an honor as always. I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you so very, very much. Can you hear me quite well, Chief Two Hawks?
We can hear you.
Thank you so much. Shikamoni Hamjambo. It is a great honor that I extend my sincere greetings and warmest salutations to you, Chief Yanaguska, and also to you, Chief Two Hawks, and all honorable chiefs, exalted clan mothers, royalties, esteemed leaders, dignitaries, officials, and honored guests. On behalf of the Prime Minister and the State of the African Diaspora, we extend our deepest respect and gratitude for the honor of being invited to commemorate your 10-year anniversary. If you may allow me just to briefly introduce the State of the African Diaspora. At the first extraordinary summit of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in February 2003, a protocol amending the Constitutive Act was adopted. Article 3Q of this protocol invites and encourages the full participation of Africans in the diaspora in the building of the African Union in its capacity as an important part of the continent. Further, in Resolution 118 of 2012, the Executive Council and the Assembly formally recognized the diaspora as the sixth region of the African Union. For many years, the sixth region existed only in principle without coordination or structure. It remained largely a symbolic and virtual reality. It became necessary to give institutional substance to this concept to move from a de facto diaspora to a de jure diaspora. In 2014, Mohammed Abdel Aziz, the then president in office of the African Union, mandated Dr. Louis-Georges Tin, at that time the chairperson of a French Black coalition, to give a structure and to formalize the African diaspora, thereby giving tangible expression to the sixth region. In July 2018, Dr. Louis-Georges Tin officially launched the State of the African Diaspora, a sovereign state within the sixth region and a state without borders. With an international team, he established a comprehensive government that includes an executive branch, ministers in various sectors, such as trade, health, education, youth, traditional medicine, historical legacy, to name a few, ambassadors located across the world, and a legislative parliament. Among our state institutions include the University of the State of the African Diaspora, USOAD, and the Royal Chamber of the State of the African Diaspora, which brings together African and diaspora royalties of kings, queens, chiefs, princes and princesses, traditional leaders and ancient kingdoms from across the world. Since April 2023, we have had the honor of collaborating with Chief Two Hawks Watson on the critical matter of restitution. Together with African kings, queens, and royalties, we have worked on the subject of repatriation and restitution of ancestral lands, artifacts, regalia, and human remains stolen through colonization. In October 2023, SOAD launched a global media campaign, Heritage and Reconquest, a class action for restitution. For the first time in history, African states, African kingdoms, chieftaincies, and indigenous nations jointly and publicly declared and demanded restitution. This unified stance affirmed what our ancestors have long guided us towards: the reconvergence of original peoples from across the world to restore what was stolen, to reclaim what was misappropriated, and to challenge the ongoing usurpation of lands and cultural property maintained by Western institutions and governments. Through this shared understanding, FANA and the State of the African Diaspora have strengthened their relationship, an alliance rooted in cosmic, spiritual, and ancestral mandate. Over the past month, the State of the African Diaspora has signed several treaties with FANA, including the Treaty of Laurent-Comité, the Kinwaki Peace Treaty, the Treaty of Montauk, Commerce Treaty, Health and Wellness, and most recently, the FANA-SOAD Banking Treaty. SOAD has further joined FANA in the Human Rights Tribunal, which extends the tribunal's jurisdiction and cooperation internationally, uniting indigenous and African descendant peoples under a shared vision of justice, under equity, and under law of continuity. In June 2025, continuing our ties, Chief Yonaguska Holloway was officially inducted into the Royal Chamber of the State of the African Diaspora, and to further strengthen the bonds between our nations, he was granted honorary citizenship of SOAD, becoming the first Aboriginal chief to be officially recognized as a national within the State of the African Diaspora. However, we did not stop there. Our relationship deepened even further when, in October 2025, FANA formally granted observer status to the State of the African Diaspora, a prestigious designation that truly speaks to the strength of our collaboration and our shared commitment to global cooperation founded on Indigenous leadership, trust, and cultural integrity. So why does this matter? This work is not symbolic. It forms the foundation of our restoration, renewal, and resurgence in creating new pathways for Aboriginal nations whose bloodlines trace back to the African continent. Our relationship represents a decisive step in rebuilding nations, restoring sovereignty, and repairing historical injustices that have affected generations. By formalizing our alliances, securing treaties, and reclaiming what was stolen, we are not only fortifying our collective self-determination, but also advancing towards economic sovereignty. Through a shared economic agenda, we are positioning ourselves as a powerful international trading bloc. In so doing, we honor and exalt our ancestors, preserve our cultural legacy, and build a future where Indigenous and African-descended peoples reclaim their authority, dignity, wealth, and unity, qualities that colonization sought to extinguish. In closing, this work matters because not only is it about restitution of lands and artifacts, it is about us dismantling colonization wherever it still exists amongst us. It is about healing generational traumas and rebuilding our once powerful nations and ensuring that our children inherit a world where their heritage, language, way of being, and way of knowing is protected, respected, and remains connected to the divine source of life. Through our unified efforts, we are laying the groundwork for a global renaissance of Indigenous and African diaspora nations, one rooted in justice, unity, equity, and the enduring resilience of legacy carried within the ancestral bloodlines of our people. And with that, I thank you for this opportunity to be amongst this prestigious gathering and celebrating your 10-year anniversary. Thank you so much. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. So pleased to have you here amongst us celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So pleased that the Federation is strengthening its relationships through the State of the African Diaspora, and so pleased to have developed a personal relationship with you to help facilitate all of this great work that's going on. So, Katapatush, thank you very much for honoring us with your presence today. We honor you and the great work that you continue to do for the State of the African Diaspora. We're going to move on to remarks from another representative from the State of the African Diaspora, but I want to just really harp upon this point because one of the things that I've seen of recent that has been disappointing in many ways to me, but I'm very cognizant that it's probably very intentional because of what we see growing here, is this push to cause division between Indigenous folks and folks of African heritage. And to me, that's just the strongest relationship that can exist. Because when European colonization started here in these lands, it was visited upon Indigenous folks, and then African heritage folks were brought here, and both of our communities were treated in very similar fashions. And in order to survive the onslaught that was going on, many of our communities intermarried with one another, formed communities with one another, fought in wars with one another against colonization. And that is a history and a relationship that needs to continue to be celebrated and honored and promoted and passed on and strengthened as we move forward. I myself am a product of that relationship, as are so many of our member nation citizens that are within the various FANA member nations, as well as those of us who have mixed heritage of European ancestry. It has been colonization for hundreds of years, but what we all acknowledge is the blood that flows through our veins and the warrior spirit of our ancestors. So, that being said, it is my great honor and pleasure to now turn the microphone over to our second representative. We have such a powerful and strong relationship with our family at the State of the African Diaspora that they have honored us by sending us over 2 vice prime ministers to give remarks today. So I am going to turn the microphone over at this time to His Excellency Hugh Johnson, second vice prime minister of the State of the African Diaspora. Your Excellency, please, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Chief. May I say a pleasant good day to all the esteemed leaders, elders, and representatives of the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. I bring greeting, respect, and solidarity from the State of the African Diaspora. a nation of millions whose roots stretch across continents, shaped by resilience, struggle, and the unwavering commitment to self-determination. It is an honor to stand with you today, the protector of ancient culture, the defender of sacred land, the carriers of ancestral wisdom. Today, I hope to speak to our shared history, our shared resilience, and our shared vision for just future. People have endured some deep scar in human history. Colonization, forced displacement, cultural erosion, and systemic attempt to silence our voices. Yet, both the indigenous nations of the America and the global African diaspora stand here today because our ancestors refused to surrender their identity and their dignity. This shared history creates a natural bond between us. We are nations formed from survival, unity, and unbroken lineage. And because of that, our struggle, our victories are intertwined. Across the Americas, Africa, and indigenous communities have long stood side by side. We fought together, trade together, intermarried, shared traditions, and create vibrant culture that still endure today. The state of the African diaspora recognizes and honor the indigenous maroon communities that sheltered escaped slaves, the sheer resistant movement that challenged colonial power, and the cultural exchange that shaped our language, art, and spirituality across this hemisphere. Today, we have an opportunity to elevate that historical unit into a modern political alliance, grounded in mutual respect and shared goals. Both our people continues to confront modern version of same old forces: land disposition, environmental destruction, cultural marginalization, economic exclusion, political misrepresentation. The state of the African diaspora stand firmly with the indigenous nations who fight to protect their sacred land from destructive extraction and exploitation. Your defense on earth is not only a struggle for your community, it is a struggle for humanity. We in the African diaspora knows what it means to fight for sovereignty, self-governance, and recognition. This is why we believe that our voices are stronger together. We support the recognition of indigenous self-determination, treaties, rights, territorial authority across the Americas. We also seek to strengthen the Afro-Indigenous partnership, both historically rooted and forward-looking, to defend our right and shape our future. And that brings us to our cultural revival and youth empowerment. Cultural revival is a political act. Both indigenous peoples and the African diaspora have seen attempts to erase our language, spirituality, traditional knowledge, and social structure. Yet today, both of our nations are experiencing powerful cultural revival. We believe that our language carries worldview that can heal the next generation. Our ancestral knowledge offers a solution to global crisis, and our youth must be empowered to inherit not only our struggle, but our pride. The state of the African diaspora is committed to cultural partnership with indigenous nations through education, exchanges, art, traditional medicine, agriculture, and community rebuilding. Today, together, indigenous nations and the African diaspora represent hundreds of millions of people whose history predate colonial borders and whose future cannot be decided without our consent. Imagine the power of the Constitutional Alliance that stands united for environmental justice, opposes exploitation of land and people, uplift traditional governance system, strengthen our economic sovereignty, and present a common voice in global institutions. This is not just possible, it is necessary. The world is changing, and our nations must be at the table shaping that change. In closing, I offer deep gratitude to the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas for welcoming me and my esteemed Vice Prime Minister to work with you and to continue the nation and the planet to be what we ought to be. The state of the African diaspora stand with you in solidarity, in respect, and in shared purpose. Together, we carry the memories of our ancestors and the responsibility to build a future worthy of them. Let us walk forward as partners, allies, and family. I thank you all.
Thank you very much for those powerful and profound words, Vice Prime Minister Johnson. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our observer status that was extended to SOAD, and we look forward for the Council of Chiefs and for the Federation as a whole of working with SOAD and with you in particular, sir, to continue to advance our agenda and make powerful changes for our future generations. Thank you for being here, sir. Katapatush.
You're welcome.
Very good. All right. Our next speaker that we have here is bringing us greetings from all the way down south, at least from up here. I met this powerful woman a couple of years ago. We started hosting an annual festival, a conference and festival focused on culture and cultural development and cultural equity. And FANA is a tremendous supporter of these concepts and of these initiatives. So they partnered with an organization that I run, the Providence Cultural Equity Initiative, to host this festival annually here in Providence. And the first year, this powerful woman showed up and gave these remarks that just kind of blew everyone away in the auditorium, I think, when she started speaking. And next to her was this individual who, when he started speaking, it was just as profound. Well, come to find out that these were official ambassadors from the leadership of the Garifuna and Maya nations of Belize. And then as I started to do my little background, well, my goodness, this woman's face was everywhere. She was everywhere speaking on behalf of her people. We hosted our third annual festival this past August, and there she was again, speaking again, sharing her thoughts, engaged in the dialogue, and then came over to me in between meeting sessions and said, Chief Two Hawks, you need to speak to the president. So all of a sudden I'm speaking to the president of the Garifuna Nation, and I'm just blown away because I'm born and raised here in Rhode Island. So these are all things that just constantly keep me amazed to even be a part of it. And it's just been a pleasure and an honor to get to know her, to listen to her wisdom, to listen to her advice, and to also more recently be of support to the work that she is doing for her nation. So we are honored and pleased to have with us this evening to bring remarks Her Excellency Ambassador Cynthia Ellis, Ambassador at Large For the Garifuna Nation, Ambassador Ellis, I turn the microphone over to you.
Goite Guyo, as we would say in Garifuna, that means greetings and good evening, good night, good day. It's an honor and a privilege to be in this sacred space. And I want to affirm and confirm the beautiful words that have been shared. So I'll not repeat except to focus mainly on the pragmatic call that we have. We are all being called. I am being called. We as Indigenous people around the world, we are being called to action. And it is no accident that in this historic moment, we are being called to break the cycle of oppression and genocide. I am of the Garifuna Nation. Gari is cassava. Cassava, we are people of the cassava. And cassava is a unifying force around the world. The United Nations in 2001 acknowledged the Garifuna as masterpiece culture for humanity. So not for Garifuna, but for humanity. And so it is with this spirit that I say that we acknowledging ourselves today, we don't need the United Nations to declare and affirm us, but through the spirit of FANA, we are thankful to be part of this movement and this recognition that we as Indigenous leaders around the world are here for one another. So indigeneity is like where the eagle and the condor have met, as was prophesied long ago. I would like to suggest that we, as sovereign nations, as a sovereign people, affirm and confirm that from time immemorial, that is the way we are and we have been, even though it has been undermined and fractured, sometimes with our participation. So I'm very honored for the privilege of moving forward. The festival chief was so powerful and it was so beautiful and so inspiring. And it's an opportunity for us to look at ourselves, hold hands, hold hearts. I'm tired of seeing people come to our communities from the United States, for example, researching us, archaeologists, anthropologists that don't look like us. So this is an opportunity for us to be pragmatic and to identify the templates and the terms of reference that our indigeneity has been anchored on over the years. Garifuna, we say Garifuna Duo. That is the Garifuna way of being. We have a reenactment which I'd want to invite you brothers and sisters to come to in the coming months in what we call Urome, St. Vincent, where we acknowledge and celebrate the genocide that was done to our people on an island called Balisau. We would like to invite you to be with us and guide us in developing a heritage site of Balisau, which is not just for the Garifuna, but is also for our people around the world. We would like to move forward in affirming the reason why we focus on the Cassava Conference Festival, Confestival, thank you, Chief, International, is because we are a people who are capable of developing food sovereignty. It's not just recognizing land for the land's sake, but land that has produced food for our people. We would like to affirm the awesomeness and power of our spirituality. In Garifuna, we say the Ahari guides us. That is the spirit. My non-colonial name is Nana Baroda Lubafu Isene. Nana speaks for itself. Baroda is the wife of our sovereign king and chief, Joseph Chatouillet, who is still the chief for what is called St. Vincent, but we call Urume. So I invite you to Urume in March. I invite you to join us in embracing the island of Balisau, where the island is littered with the bones of our ancestors who were genocided there. And we were transported, those of us who resisted enslavement, those of us who were resistant, were the ones who were sent over to Central America. And now there are almost 1 million of us around the world. So we are what is a so-called miracle because we have been overcomers and we are a testimony to what is possible. I want to offer in this renaissance of cultural transformation, not culture to show and tell, as how we are often showcased around the world. Whenever the country of Belize wants to showcase Belize, they send Garifuna all over the world to showcase. But our communities, that economic power is not translated in the quality of life of our people. So culture is beautiful. We would like you to join us, however, to translate this culture into economic competency, financial literacy, financial competency, where we can have our own institutions, our own banks, our own schools, our own ways of being. And finally, I wanted to ask for the legal guidance that we have our judiciary develop from an indigenous perspective, that our institutions will be lifted up as the ones that define the protocols. I am so excited in being a part of the FANA conversation, where we don't want to be like Columbus or the people who are discovering through this climate change and environmental discussion, right? We are the ones who have been custodians of the land and securing the environment. So it is for us to articulate that fact as we go through the rites of passage, as our ancestors defined for us, as we will define for our children before they are born, not sending them to those institutions called schools for so-called education, which we know is damaging them. I thank you for this awesome opportunity to celebrate 10 years of FANA and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I believe everyone sees what I was saying when I said powerful words are spoken by this woman every time she lends her voice to anything. So Katapatusha, Ambassador, such an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have representation from our Garifuna Nation here. And we look forward to continue to strengthen our relationships and move things forward for our mutual benefit and advancement moving forward.
Definitely.
Very good. All right. So we have gone FANA member nations to FANA key structural elements that have helped us to advance, to remarks from our international relations. We want to turn our gaze back a little bit inward once again. So our next individual, you've heard his name mentioned a few times, but he has been so instrumental in the work that FANA has been doing in his work with the Ministry of International Affairs. Lord Thomas mentioned that he was the reason that Lord Thomas made the connection to FANA. I've had the opportunity to sit and chat with him and learn from his wisdom and be encouraged in what he sees is possible and what FANA can and will accomplish. And we are just so pleased to have him here this evening to bring remarks. I want to now turn the microphone over to His Excellency, Ambassador Chief Douglas Scott. Chief Scott, if you are here, please feel free to unmute yourself. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Two Hawks, and it's a great pleasure to hear you speak. After all the years I've listened to you and the great knowledge you now put forth, and your graduation and the way you present yourself for FANA is absolutely outstanding, and it also makes me very proud. to have known you, to have watched you grow, watched you go through university, watch you just become not only a wonderful man, but a wonderful chief for us. And we look forward to the greater things that you're going to achieve for us. For that, I thank you. Okay, now jumping back, I've now been with FANA 9 years. The Great Spirit brought me together with Ambassador Dr. Aaron Cardinal, who introduced me to Chief Yanagusta. And then we started a long journey together because of the past heritage that we both felt so dear about. And after learning both our paths, a bond was created that has lasted, and we go back numbers and numbers of years, not just the beginning. So that I take a great pride in. Today is a wonderful day because it's the 10th year anniversary, and I take honor in being allowed to speak to it. The people that I've been fortunate enough to work with, from His Excellency Lord Thomas, to yourself, to Chief Yanagusta, to the people that I've been fortunate enough to bring into our court system, Lady Davenport, who's a judge for us. I go through the list to our youngest ambassador, which is Ambassador O'Neill, who is in Central and South America and also works out of Ireland and England, to the other people that I've been so lucky to bring into us as part of our court system, to part of our further banking system, to, again, ambassadors, which we've emboldened and brought in with us. It's been my honor at this age, and I only look forward to what's yet to come, because of the doors that we've been so lucky to open to this far in our heritage, to the doors that haven't been opened, to the continents we haven't conquered yet, to the more people we'll bring in. There's only 800 million indigenous people in the world. Today's gathering has brought us to, I would say, almost 1/8 to a half of what we're growing just in the Americas. So if we look at the Americas alone, from the Arctic basically down to the southern tip, and the people that are joining us, it has been absolutely a wonderful 9 years for me. It's opened my eyes. I've learned more about my heritage and where I came from and where we're going. The Great Spirit has been able to guide us, and with the knowledge that Two Hawks has brought forward, that Lord Thomas has brought forward, to listening to the people that have gathered today, I am humbled to be allowed to speak. I look at the tragedies that have happened around the world and how we're going about to fix them, and that enlightens my soul and gives me courage to carry on as I'm getting old. And I'm looking at Two Hawks with gray in his beard, and I'm thinking, I watched him go from a young man with no gray hair to a seasoned professional. And the same with Lord Thomas and the other ones that have joined us. And the clan mothers that bring us together and that are the backbone of our people are the reason that we're here. They gave us the guidance and the knowledge and the push to go forward. My mother, even though she's no longer with us, seems to guide me in spirit and light and dreams that I can move forward in a distinct way of betterment. And the betterment is, when I look at Canada as a land of water, we are the worst nation in Canada than any of our other ones for not giving our people clean water. So it's one of the things that I'm focusing on this year, is so we can clean up the 900 different tribes across Canada that do not have clean water and an availability of it. And I'll also look at what happens in the United States with the lack of water, and we go down through California's and the way that's taking place with the erosion that's taking place of our people by the lack of things they have. As Chief Two Hawks and everyone that works with me knows, I push education. It's one of the joys that I do have in watching people grow. I want our heritage back. I want all our languages back. And it's one of the joys of the universities that we hope to open. So we get our languages. Our court system is in place, which has been an absolute wonder. Our banking will be in place. We are moving forward at a speed that is a bewilderment to me. And I take my hat off to you, or my headdress off to you, Two Hawks, for pulling all of that together. Chief Yanagusta is our leader, and a soulmate to me. Just when we talk, it's like we've known each other forever, which is a great thing. So as he points out, sometimes if I say it, it came out of his mouth. If he says it, it came out of mine. So if you have anyone to blame for things, blame us both. Okay, so I take great delight in that. I look forward to you hearing from Ambassador O'Neill, and I am so proud of all the people that have come to this table today to rejoice in what we've got. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak. And for that, I check out, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Katapatus Chief, thank you very much for your kind words. It's been a pleasure and an honor for you to see me get old as well, sir. So thank you very much. And hopefully lots more gray beards to come in before this work that we're collectively working on is done, Chief. So always a pleasure and an honor, sir. FANA's international reach is really facilitated by Chief Yanaguska identifying individuals with such profound backgrounds that already have relationships to the spaces and to the lands and to the nations that FANA would like to build relationships with. And I just find it so funny because we are in North America at least, but really I would say the Americas because it's down to the Caribbean as well. You know, there was this term that was placed upon us when Columbus got here, this funny little term called an Indian, which from a legal perspective, I get it. But you will often hear folks say, when they're speaking from a cultural perspective, I'm not an Indian. And then a lot of times they'll just use another colonial term. But if they're moving in the capacity that I always prefer and I always honor, they'll say, I'm not an Indian, I'm a Narragansett, I'm a Sandhill, I'm a Skarure. But they always say this thing that I'm not an Indian. Well, we are very pleased because indeed we are not Indians, but we do have an official ambassador to the nation that we know as India. So with that being said, it is my great honor and pleasure to turn the microphone over to His Excellency the Honorable Dr. Raja Savan, FANA Ambassador to India. Ambassador, please, I turn the microphone over to you. We look forward to your good remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good late evening to some people across the continents. I am Honorable Dr. Raja Sivan. I am also the Chairman and Founder Trustee for the Indian Center for Social Transformation, a public charitable trust, which has been doing digital transformation across the subcontinent in India. And we have been reaching the underprivileged children, the underprivileged people, tribals, and using digital transformation, and Indian CST along with now as the ambassador to FANA. We have been driving the digital divide which was there not only inside India, across the globe now with the help of FANA which has come, and we have also building the largest and the biggest digital platform for FANA which we have proposed, and we intend doing this not only to make that digital will divide the gaps which were there and bridge those gaps for the entire world to come together as one. And here, the reason why we decided this to do was SWORD and FANA have come together, and we are addressing 800 million indigenous people of FANA here to bring them all on a table of a UID, give them an identification, give them a trading platform, give them the education. Now we have also got the exclusive rights, global rights with Indian CST and FANA India Embassy for the world's first AI operating system with AI courses, with AI labs for the education system, for the medical system, for the animal husbandry, for the agriculture, for the satellite connectivity. And today, what we have proposed is an e-commerce trading platform. Here in India, we have given empowering of the Indian citizens, and we are the only trust today in the country who has done digital across the 725,000 villages in the country, and bringing them all together, which no company, no government could do this. We reached it to the 30 crore people coming onto the platform to use it. And today we have launched the AI lab, which is the first time in the world where we are bringing the artificial intelligence is a new era. The IT era, which was about last 25 years, is over. And here we have bought, it is done by Mr. Vedant Ahluwalia, the prodigy, and he's an Indian. And this is a total Make in India initiative, along with FANA, what we are doing. We are now delivering AI and democratizing AI, then make it into a proprietary AI, so that we give AI into the hands of every indigenous people in this world to deliver products than do services. And this will get them revenue, this will give them the respect, this will give them that rights to live. This will also give them that revenues which will bring them in power, that what they lost all these decades and centuries old, back to that glory with FANA, the Federation, which is doing a wonderful job. And I congratulate the entire team of chiefs, the Ambassador Chief, Douglas Scott, Hallway, and they have been guiding forces along with the team. And today, with Indian CST, with FANA India Embassy, we have joining hands with the entire embassies of FANA across the world to bring them all on a digital platform which FANA can deliver seamlessly, not dependent on any, and this will include healthcare, the medical tech, the agri-tech, the fintech. So this will have a digital platform for the new AI era, which we feel FANA should lead, and the world can rejoice that artificial intelligence is a democratic era and not a proprietary era or a monopoly era. And my greetings from the entire team from India. Thank you very much to everybody for giving this opportunity, and thank you, everybody.
Katapatisha Ambassador, thank you for joining us this evening, for your good words on our 10-year anniversary and such exciting news. I'm just once again floored by it, and I'm looking forward to see all of the great work you do and how we put it to work for the people. So Katapatish, thank you.
We will make the 800 million indigenous people, which the world has not done so far, under the FANA. This, we can make it into a reality with the support of FANA, the OMS, everybody, to make this happen a reality.
We look forward to working with you to bring it to a reality, Ambassador. Katapatish, for all of your doing and your great work, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going down the list in the order that it was given to me by Chief Yanaguska. And if you know, you don't not follow a chief's orders when he gives it to you, especially if he writes it down. So this next individual who will be bringing remarks, I've had the opportunity to engage with him so many different times. He's been up here to Mashapag territory a number of times, driving in from all the way out west. So I'm just he's finishing up his doctoral studies. He's just a tremendous individual, and when you speak to him, you're like, oh, okay, that's what they mean when they say someone's intelligent. So let me just navigate where I'm at because I like to think I'm intelligent, but then I have a conversation with this individual and I'm like, first of all, I didn't know that was a word, so I need to look that word up. And wow, he's using it exactly how it's supposed to be utilized, which means my vocabulary needs to increase. He's been tremendous inspiration. I've been able to share a lot of my learnings and things of that nature with his studies, and I'm just so excited on the things that he's doing now. And I can't even imagine where he'll be at a decade from now, but I'm happy to be a part of his journey and support him in whatever form or fashion I can. Just for a little bit of background on the structure of FANA, the Chiefs Council, as we were developing the Constitution, we saw a real value for having an institution within FANA that would allow for the Federation citizens to have input into what the Chiefs were deciding and what the Chiefs were doing. We understand the concepts of monarchy and things of that nature, but when we look around in contemporary society, looking at the history that has led up to now, I think that I'm not speaking out of bounds when I say that there have been some issues with just straight monarchies and how individuals with extreme power can often conduct themselves. And we never want the Federation to turn out into anything like that. So within the Constitution, we created our Nimuag, which in our language means the original people, which is the body within the Federation where every FANA member nation, depending upon the size of it, is able to appoint at least 3 Nimuag seat holders, and it serves as FANA's version of our Congress. So they are tasked with reviewing any of the elements that the Chiefs Council is considering putting into law, to drafting their own decrees for consideration by the Chiefs, and for any of the ministries that are within the federations, anything that they want to propose to the Chiefs, it has to go through the NIMUOG first, and they have to implement any changes or suggestions that the NIMUOG require before it comes over to the Chiefs for consideration. This gentleman, I share all that because this gentleman is our inaugural first seat holder of the FANA NIMUOG. It is my extreme pleasure and honor to now turn the microphone over to His Excellency Ambassador Kevin Inglesby, first seat holder of the FANA NIMUOG. Kevin, please.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me all right? All right. Thank you so much, Chief Two Hawks, for welcoming me here today and for this opportunity and also just being allowed to offer some words on this day. Also, thank you to all of your excellencies, chiefs, dignitaries, ambassadors, seat holders, and everyone in attendance today for coming and sharing this celebration of FANA's decade and commemoration of FANA's charter. With my time today, I would like to offer 3 points that I have come to observe from the NIMUOG and Federation generally that have largely been informed by my experiences over this past summer. If you will travel back in time with me for a moment to the International Day of the African Diaspora on July 1st, hosted by the State of the African Diaspora, I want to tie into my first point an important concept that was discussed in part through the duration of the IDAD conference/anniversary. Namely, this concept relates to philosophical activism and is effectuated by our rebuttals to claims of domination, as is present through the doctrine of discovery, for example. While in papal terms, the doctrine of discovery was quote-unquote repudiated on March 30th, 2023, its legacy continues to pervade our social domains and legal landscapes. In the context of philosophical activism, rebutting deleterious and exploitative claims is but one element in the process of meaning production. The next critical step is to reliably, stably, and habitually walk a new path, to embody precisely what should be in its place. In that sense, existence is resistance, but that is also just one feature of the combinational units that must be deployed to bring interpretation to action. On Monday, August 11th, 2025, the Federation issued an official decree, the Law of Continuity. With that in mind, I would like to share with you some other elements that support what the Law of Continuity may mean in different contexts. From my experiences over the summer, I developed my understanding, and still am, of the law of continuity by speaking with our leaders in different instances about the customary and cosmological underpinnings provided through the FANA intertribal court system, for example, like Nuwamanituk Nuktuksuag, which means constitutionally both written and unwritten, the relatedness of all. With that context, my mind began processing and identifying common threads as to how the relatedness of all intersects through our Federation law, Wanandri, as it is enlivened by each of our member nations' nuanced customs, habits, and standards. So, over the summer, I spoke with Chief Two Hawks to different degrees about the Nahiganuk, the Mashapog's traditional spiritual belief system, customs, traditions, and practices. I spoke with Chief Yonaguska about the Great Spirit and different ways to channel a clear soul and good heart into different levels of practical action. I spoke about Orende and the Skore Hadnagonio with Chief Eagle Elk, which in themselves translates almost directly to the relatedness of all via the Great Law of Peace. I also spoke about Ubuntu with Vice Prime Minister and Her Royal Highness Ketura Omoako. And as a final example, also by experiencing the law of continuity itself, when my partner Morgan and I were invited to Cacique Turriega's Oreto or summer solstice ceremony, and honestly, so much more. However, these are all components of what I have come to understand as elements of Wanandri, which provides that there is a creator. That creator commands different laws or decrees, and our proximity to those features influences the manner in which diverse iterations of these principles may be channeled through the good mind, heart, and clear soul. I would love to and am looking forward to having more of these interactions, detailed discussions, and to participate in our ceremonial proceedings because, as I come into my next point beyond philosophical activism, I want to emphasize interfacing with the diversity Wanandri can entail as it relates to all of our nations, that these are just some of the very important actions to help to reliably stabilize the Nimuag's interpretation of the cultural content we are expressing through the processes to review, assess, and promulgate our draft Federation law. So, to ground my second point, the Nimuag operates as one form of checks and balances in the Federation. In a certain sense, how unwritten tradition is channeled into and stabilizes our written law. At this moment, I'd like to offer some remarks about the structure of the Nimuag itself. Article 10 of FANA's Constitution provides the Nimuag's frameworks, standard operating procedures, and general conduct of this governmental arm. In that sense, it is important to call to mind an old axiom associated with Ubuntu and Wanandri generally, that I am only as strong and effective as we are. So, a crucial feature of the Nimuag's conditions to ensure its proper function resides in representatives being appointed from each member nation to be a seat holder, to operate with the Federation first, as is stipulated in Section 11 of Article 10, specifically that every seat holder shall represent and act in the interest of the whole of the Federation, not merely or solely in the interest of their respective FANA nation. In considering the observer statuses of the Garifuna, the state of the African diaspora, and the Lenca's completion thereof, I am very much looking forward to the expansion of our multicultural base within the Nimuag that drives our specific system and models for formal cultural exchange and customary law exchange as the mutually modifying system the Nimuag operates as. That notwithstanding, before I take up all of my time here, I would like to end with the idea that the Nimuag represents, to different degrees, cultural and political revitalization through the renegotiation of traditional governance systems. One marker to support that point is recognizable through our utilization of Algonquian language triggers like nux in the affirmative and mata in the negative for our proceedings. In tandem with language bases being infused into our standard operating procedures, it is important to include that we operate through the 13 Wukweog or lunar calendar as well to reassert the law of continuity from a multidimensional and relational perspective, so that way the Nimuag may act as a formal site to harmonize our multicultural philosophies, actions, and ways of being that inform the ways we perceive, experience, and walk in the world, to not only philosophically rebut imperial legacies, but to actionably hybridize our world beyond its immediate reach. Again, thank you so much for welcoming me here today. And with that, thank you, everyone.
Katapaters, Kevin, thank you very much, first seat holder, for sharing those very good words, for informing us a little bit more about what the Nimewag's all about. And I'm excited as well that it'll be expanding with our Lenka family, adding some individuals there. We're looking forward to see who they appoint. And of course, as we continue to grow, observer status and things of that nature, it's just really, really great to see what you've done with the Nimewag so far. And very honored to see where you'll be taking it, as well as the other seat holders that are here in our meeting today as well. So thank you to you all, Katapatush, on behalf of the Chiefs Council, for your commitment and dedication to advancing the Federation. Very good. All right. So we're coming down to the close, but we've got some really, really exciting stuff. I would argue that perhaps we've saved some of the best for near the end. This next individual, I had the opportunity, I had been hearing his name around through Yanaguska for a while. And when I met him, once again, just floored. The level of professionalism and accomplishment that FANA seems to be attracting, but not only attracts, that seems to uh, find an interest in FANA. It's just astounding to me. Folks that, you just wouldn't expect to ever meet someone like this, and yet here they are having a conversation with you, speaking with passion about things that we all collectively have been working on. And as Turegwa said, dream that could potentially even be possible. And then you have individuals like the gentleman I'm getting ready to introduce pop up on your screen and just start speaking about their own history and what they've done, but how they're really interested in this. And it's just like, I'm awake, so it's clearly not a dream, but is this a dream? Because what's going on here? One of the things that's so important, and I think that they've done a very good job on us as indigenous folks, I find we have a tendency to want to shy away from conversations about quote unquote money. And I think we're in that sort of mind space because we see how those who are in power now conduct themselves when they get money. They get it and then they utilize it to do things that clearly don't fit with what our goals or our interests would be, but we're often on the receiving end of these sorts of things. So I think that as indigenous folks, we have a tendency to want to stay away from conversations around commerce, economic development, banking, all of these sorts of things, because those are European things and they're not our ways. But our folks have always been rich folks, just not in the manner that contemporary society has been conducting itself. And if we're going to move forward in the manner that we need to and we want to and we should, then the economic aspects of it are of extreme importance, extreme importance. And we are very blessed through the relationship that Chief Yanaguska has built to have individuals such as this individual here that I'm getting introduced to bring their talents and expertise to help the Federation in this particular space and beyond. So let me stop my ramblings. It is my extreme honor and pleasure to turn the microphone over to His Excellency Ambassador Garen O'Neill to share remarks with us today. Ambassador, thank you for being here, sir. Oh, Ambassador, it's a little garbled coming through. It's kind of hard to understand. Maybe try with the video off and just the mic.
Okay, I will.
There we go. There we go.
Is that one? There
Yes.
we go. There we go. There we go. The voice is more important, arguably, than the two honks, so we'll go with that. Is
Yes, we can hear you, Ambassador. Please. Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. So, yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So I'll start straight, obviously. Thank you very much, distinguished chiefs, honored delegates, respected elders, beloved relatives and friends from across the many nations who've joined with us today. We meet here not only to mark the passage of another year in the life of the Federation of the Aboriginal Nations of the Americas, FANA, but to honour a living moment, a rising voice, and a sovereign future that's been shaped by the hands of the Indigenous people themselves. This anniversary is a moment of reflection, it's a moment of gratitude, but above all, it's a moment of direction. A confirmation that FANA is advancing with a clarity of purpose, unmatched in modern Indigenous diplomacy. And big words, unmatched in modern Indigenous diplomacy. But this year's anniversary carries a special significance, for it follows one of the most remarkable accomplishments in FANA's history, and that is by the bringing together of some 39 million Indigenous people with the signing of a peace and unity treaty between FANA and the Supreme National Indigenous Council of Mexico, a treaty, Two Hawks, I had the profound honour to secure on behalf of the FANA nations as chief negotiator and global ambassador at large. A little bit about the Supreme National Indigenous Council in Mexico. Its representatives across the Indigenous communities, across all 32 states. It serves as a unified voice of the original peoples, over 69 tribes, preserving ancestral wisdom, languages, and memory, while advocating for legal control over natural resources and recovery of territories. It is led, to my mind, by one of the most strongest women, female leaders that I have met to date, Presidente, Her Excellency Rosa Maria Baradas Castillo from Veracruz. She is the leader and essentially someone that we have worked with over the best part now of 12 months to secure the treaty between the Federation and obviously the Council itself. This treaty is more than an agreement. It's more than a symbol. It's a declaration, a bold statement that Indigenous nations across the Americas will step onto the global stage united, prepared, and determined. The treaty represents one of the largest Indigenous diplomatic unifications in the modern era. Having spoken to Chief Ron, Ambassador Scott, in respect of this, and Lord Orville Thomas, everybody was in agreement in terms of what the coming together meant. There's a strengthening of continental Indigenous sovereignty. It's a platform for global engagement and recognition. And it's a message that Indigenous voices will no longer be on the peripheral, they will be central. If you compare us now to nations within the United Nations, it speaks for itself. The signing is only the first step. Today's anniversary gathering marks the beginning of the work, the cooperation, and the shared sovereign action that will give this treaty life. As we commemorate FANA's accomplishments, I would remiss not to speak of the personal journey that brought me to this work. I was born in Ballycastle, County Antrim, Northern Ireland, which is a small coastal town shaped by the North Atlantic wind, by ancient Celtic memory, and by a people who carry their identity deep within their bones. The cliffs of Ballycastle are unyielding, the sea is relentless, and the history of the north of Ireland still echoes with the struggles of sovereignty, of cultural survival, and the long pursuit of peace. Growing up there, I learned early that identity is sacred, that community is a responsibility, that culture is a living inheritance, and that peace is never given. It's built, it's protected, and it's continually renewed. These lessons carved into me by my homeland shaped the diplomat I would become. They guided me through every challenge of the negotiation process, through every moment requiring patience, empathy, and steadfast commitment. And today, as I stand in this anniversary gathering, highly honoured to be among these highly esteemed people, oceans away from Ballycastle, I feel the same sense of purpose as I felt on its shores, the conviction that peace, unity, and sovereignty are worth every effort. This treaty and this moment exist because of all the collective strength of the extraordinary leaders that FANA has. To President Rosa Maria Baradas Castillo, who is representing over 39 million, you're a superb leader for the Indigenous people across the 69 nations you represent. Your courage and wisdom shaped this heroic and historic step. You have strengthened not only the Supreme National Indigenous Council, but the Indigenous future of the entire hemisphere. To Chief Ambassador Douglas Scott, firstly my mentor, and whose strategic insight and tireless dedication were critical at every stage. I owe you immense respect and thanks. Ambassador Scott has this ability to foster collaboration. He inspires confidence and nurturing lasting partnerships. Has strengthened not only the institutions he served, but the hearts and the minds of those who have had the privilege to work alongside him. And this man has taught me the art of diplomacy. His leadership was and remains imperative to the ambassadors to function on the international stage for FANA, and to my mind, he's a true giant of the diplomatic world. Chief Ambassador Scott, you embody the spirit of service, vision, and friendship that will continue to guide Indigenous diplomacy for generations to come. To Chief Ronald Yonaguska Holloway, whose spiritual grounding and immense knowledge of history formed the moral backbone of these negotiations. Your leadership is felt in every word of the treaty, and I thank you for the faith and support you have granted me by giving me the prestigious role as an ambassador at large on the global stage for FANA. You're a best friend to me and a mentor. To Lord Chief Justice Robert Orville Thomas, whose legal mastery was touched on earlier by Two Hawks, you ensured that the treaty stands on firm and defensible ground. I am and we are deeply grateful. For me personally, it's been an absolute honour to work alongside you, Lord Thomas, throughout my ambassadorship. To Lady Sheila Davenport, I want to thank you for always being there for me. You've been tremendous to work with during every single encounter. And to my good friend, Richard Stacer, whose skill as a strategic communicator and chief negotiator and advisor helped weave all of this together. So without Richard, all of this would not have been possible. And he was there through every piece of the process. Your contributions, my good friend, cannot be overstated. I thank you so much for everything in terms of what you've given over the past year to this process. And it's been wonderful to work alongside you. Every historian, translator, legal expert, and community representative from Mexico, England, the United States, your collective wisdom gave this treaty its integrity and its strength. And to my family, who are here today, to my father, Cyril O'Neill, and my mummy, Anne O'Neill, the O'Neill name carries a centuries-long legacy of kings, of chieftains, of warriors of Ulster, a province of Ireland, renowned for courage, strategic vision, and the steadfast defences of their people and sovereignty. Our name is rooted in honour, leadership, and diplomacy. My lineage was instilled in me by my mother and father, who believed and had profound commitment to justice, the protection of communities, and the forging of enduring alliances. So I'm very proud to come from this great name and this great family. So thank you, Mum and Dad. And to my wonderful wife, Liliani, who has supported me along every step. I thank her for consistently being there for me and for being with me every step. It's been my privilege to bring this heritage to bear in the service of Indigenous unity, peace, and international cooperation. Continuing a tradition of leadership that bridges courage with wisdom and brings my house together with the FANA tribes. So I see today as not only a day of remembrance, it's a day of direction. With the treaty now signed, we move to the next stage of implementation, of coordination, of expansion, sovereign action. Our goals in the coming year include building implementation frameworks, expanding representation within the United Nations, coordinating cultural and legal protections across nations, strengthening youth leadership programs, developing environmental stewardship initiatives, and fortifying diplomatic relationships across the hemisphere. And I'm deeply honoured to participate in this style of work. So the Peace and Unity Treaty allows FANA to step onto the world stage with an unprecedented capacity, greater diplomatic recognition, unified cultural preservation strategies, stronger environmental leadership, expanded human rights advocacy, and renewed global engagement. And I solely believe the world is witnessing a new chapter in Indigenous history. And it's a chapter written not with hesitation, but it's a chapter written with confidence. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of that. And I want to thank everybody today. And I want to just finish off with what I would consider to be appropriate for my spirituality, and that's to thank God. So I want to just start off with a blessing for the treaty, by saying we do not carry this treaty alone. We carry it with our ancestors, we carry it with the youth, we carry it with every nation represented here today. And so from the cliffs of Ballycastle to the mountains, forests, deserts and waters of the Americas, I stand before you committed fully and unequivocally to supporting this treaty and advancing FANA's sovereign mission. May the Creator bless this anniversary gathering. May our unity deepen. May our sovereignty endure. And may FANA continue to rise as a beacon of Indigenous strength and shared destiny. And in this moment, with humility and reverence, I offer my deepest gratitude to Jesus Christ, whose guidance, mercy, and strength have carried us to this point. May his teachings of peace, justice, compassion, and reconciliation shape every step we take. May Jesus bless our leaders with wisdom, our elders with honour, our youth with purpose, and all our nations with protection and hope. May his presence go before us, his grace surround us, his light guide the path we walk together. Thank you, everybody, and I will now pass over to Two Hawks, who will, I hope, bring Chief Ronald Yuniguska Holloway in to give a more historical background and just exactly what this means. I thank you, everybody. It's my deep honour to be among such esteemed people today. Thank you so much.
Tapatisha Ambassador, thank you for the kind words. Just, I want to take a moment. There is a shared history between your people and our nations here, coastal Algonquin down to Cape Fear, in that we were all fighting against colonization from the same royal crown. So I am extremely honored and pleased that we are now working to address these issues that have come out of colonization collectively, and that you honor your people and you're proud of your heritage in the same manner that we are, and that we are kindred spirits and that we're righting wrongs that have been going on for generations, but that I think are right on time because we needed the knowledge, we needed the expertise, we needed the relationships. We needed all of these things to be able to do what we're doing today. So, Ambassador, thank you very much. For those who didn't hear, he facilitated a treaty. We are now in treaty with over 40 million indigenous peoples in Mexico, various nations and tribes. But that was Ambassador O'Neill who was at the forefront of that, with the guidance and direction from our Minister of International Affairs and all of the other representatives that are there. So I do hope that everyone is understanding, with the quality of individuals that have given remarks today, exactly how real, how tangible, how impactful the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas is. Not how it will be, not how it can be, but how it is. And for all of the individuals that are here giving remarks today, just Katapatush, I just keep saying it, to Butney, however you want to say it, thank you for seeing the vision that our nations had and helping us to move it forward. It is going to be tremendously impactful for so many generations that come after us. And we honor you and we thank you for your dedication and your passion and your commitment to helping us move these things forward. So thank you very much, Ambassador. I believe we have one other person, and then I'm going to invite Chief Yanaguchi to come up and give closing remarks to speak more specifically about the treaty. And Ambassador, I'm only doing it because he gave me a list and I have to follow the list. So I don't want to step outside of the list. But I think after I get done with the list, I have some space to invite him back. So I'll make sure to do that at your request, sir. Very good. So our last official speaker for this evening is a woman that I've gotten to know very well over the years. She's been up to our territories on several occasions. I've been down to her household on several occasions. Strong, passionate, fighting for her folks, strong Taíno bloodlines coming from out of the Caribbean, and just a wonderful, wonderful individual who you know is always down for the cause, always willing to fight, always willing to make a stand. And now she's taking that energy, that passion, and that commitment into international spheres for the Federation. It is my great honor and pleasure to turn the microphone over to Her Excellency Maria Lorena Cosme, FANA's Ambassador to the United Nations and Director of Indigenous Outreach. Your Excellency, please, the floor is yours. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chief Two Hawks, for your beautiful words. It feels very nice to be appreciated by someone of your caliber, and I am really honored to be here today. Um, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about my perspective from this point of view that I have sort of been given this bird's eye view of all the comings and goings from the beginning, first as just Chief Yonaguska's fiance, and then as I've grown to become more of a part of all of this in action. So good afternoon or evening to everyone present with us today, foreign dignitaries, heads of state, ambassadors, excellencies, beloved chiefs, and last but not least, the citizens of FANA nations. We are a proud people, and this is for us after all. On this very happy and auspicious day, it amazes me to think about how fast time flies. 10 years ago, when FANA first formed, I had the privilege to be one of those proverbial flies on the wall, a guest of one of the signatories. I was offered a rare bird's eye view of history in the making. And I could say, as many people do, that the scope of this project was invisible, or that I did not understand the magnitude of what was transpiring. But that would be untrue. A useful rhetorical device, but a lie. I understood, just as each chief and council person present that day did, the importance of those early meetings and the path through history that was being carved on the day that Chief Two Hawks, Chief Winds of Thunder, and Chief Yonaguska signed the initial document forming the final iteration of what would become FANA. Earlier that day, we had all stood in unison and held hands in ceremony at the seat of the Massasoit in Rhode Island, a very sacred spot just under the cliff where the great Metacomet lived and died for his people, for their freedom, for the rights of the first people of New England, the stewards of Northern Turtle Island. We felt the guiding energy of those who came before us descending from that bluff, beyond which an unfathomable ocean breathed its blessings and in patterned rhythms to those of us that were gathered below. Our intention was based in respect of our mutual struggles, brotherly love, and was set into motion at that moment. Federal Nation of the Aboriginal Nations of the America. The hope was clear to begin the process of rebuilding the Great League with the family lines and clans of the Indigenous Americans of Algonquin heritage that still had the legal right and historic imperative to seek out methods to engage with the sovereignty that had been stripped away from their brothers and sisters under the bloody pen of the BIA system, to actualize Indigenous sovereignty in a way that it had not been actualized in centuries, to move it from conceptual to literal. The hope is clear. To begin the process of thus actionable sovereignty became the goal. To synthesize and synergize our collected cultural riches, to find and prioritize the similarities between us, and to use those similarities to build trellising structures for our united future, then to reinforce those structures with treaty, with the rule of law, to build bridges and then roads. As we would grow, we would protect one another with collectivism and make our way to the table of global power from underneath it. There was this innate understanding that the time had come. The collected education, expertise, and creativity was a brain trust that was so heavy with potential. Its representatives were ready to move in directions once thought lost to colonial narratives of hegemony and power. It was the idea that by combining forces of intent, intellect, and spirit, FANA was going to alter the way Indigenous people engaged with global diplomacy and power in a modern context forever. Undergirding this idea was this notion that our relations with one another as native people of this hemisphere are not the provenance of colonial powers. These relationships belonged to us, are a part of us, were our birthright, and no matter how long treaty as both action and archetype lay dormant, its embers still burned in the minds of each chief, each clan mother, each individual tribal member. Treaty meant honor, a promise to fulfill, an obligation to protect, held sacred under the ever giving and watchful eye of the Creator. Treaty law supersedes all other forms of law in the Western Hemisphere. It is the first and most primal. FANA would fully revive this sleeping practice as a way to interface with the world at large. As you've heard from many of our speakers today, FANA has accomplished many of its early objectives and then some. FANA has forced open space for Indigenous authority to exist fully on a global scale and within its own context. FANA has networked, built foundational legal structures for international trade, heritage tourism, low-cost, high-quality medical clinics, banking, and finance, among others. Indigenous people are a collectivist people, and underneath that, we are girded by matriarchal principles. Our clan mothers guide our tribes and clans. Through the divine feminine, we understand our place in nature, and we are able to keep harmony and balance with the natural world. This is yet another sacred way of being that FANA is reviving and raising to a global scale. Several years ago, it was decided that while each tribe has their own clan mother or grandmother council system, it was imperative that FANA begin to create a larger scale version of this tradition to help guide and protect future generation of FANA citizenry. I was tasked with gathering women from FANA's Nimwag to begin the process of codifying our matriarchal ways into a framework that allows for this unique form of wisdom and energy to flow into FANA's governance structures as a whole. It is my honor to announce that we are in the process of finalizing those foundational documents so we may begin to populate this body. This process of creating the FANA Women's Council has been so lovingly guided by the wise and gentle hand of Cacique Bibi Naniki, and to her I owe a huge debt. She has helped those of us in the building committee to feel comfortable to create as women and in the manner of women, by listening and sharing patiently with love at the center, by giving us the needed space to create and lead with emotion and intuition. The matriarchal way of existing is one of the most profound differences between the indigenous nations and the corporate nation states. There is a warm camaraderie that is palpable and lives through our relationships. During our years of interacting at the UN and the UN PFII, I have come to understand this key point regarding what is a defining aspect of indigenous global power. That we, as the global indigenous of the world, exist as part and parcel of a sacred and living creation. We are the breathing, living planet. We are the dreaming planet. Each of us is a breath of the sacred earth in that vast cosmic and phenomenological stage upon which we live our physical lives. That we live in the cosmos as the cosmos also lives through us. We share in a more literal sense and thus hold a powerful connection to reality and to one another. Our energy grows geometrically and fractally on multiple dimensions. Our connections are felt in the body and on the air. We are here on this plane in a more visceral way than those who would wish to eliminate or control us. This cultural and spiritual difference between the purely material power of the modern nation state apparatus and the indigenous authority we are collecting and gathering through organizations such as FANA, SCNI, and SOAD makes us a formidable force in the globe. The phrase, "we didn't cross the border crossed us," comes to mind when thinking of the scope of FANA's projects. This pan-indigenous concept, this is the energetic and spiritual thread that runs through all of our forays into Central and South America, the Caribbean, Polynesia, Asia, and Africa. From this same notion, we understand FANA as a larger player in a bigger project of uniting global indigenous power. With the help of beloved friends such as Queen Amanimli and the gentle and honorable Sheikh Bey, we began to communicate with the leadership of SOAD, and in doing so came to understand that a shared genetic heritage between SOAD members and many FANA citizens was yet another source of power. We now walk side by side with SOAD in mutual aid and respect as we build bridges that will connect Turtle Island and the African continent. FANA is a replicable blueprint for Indigenous freedom. Our innate sense of interconnectedness and a collectivist multiplicity is our greatest strength. The West does not signal the definition of civilization, but rather has proven with its machinations to be its means of collapse. We owe it to the power and beauty of Gaia, the great mother, Pachamama, to keep it up, to keep fighting by creating, and by wholeheartedly engaging our similarities and not just appreciating them. We honor each other through actionable sovereignty. We bravely exist with and within our power in earnest. We choose when and how to connect and engage with our galactic and spiritual relations worldwide. I see FANA personally as a lighthouse. We do not signal for the colonial eye. We signal to find one another in the dark, to guide one another. Over the last 10 years, FANA has grown from the interests of 3 tribes to representing the interests of over 80 million global participants through our various diplomatic missions. In conclusion, I would like to leave you with some thoughts that, and maybe they're just hopes and prayers, that like our ancestors before us, we can continue to represent nature and channel the elements through our actions, that like water, we can hold the past and the present with all of its truths, the good, the bad, the beneficent, and the evil, that we can hold it in and manage to only reflect back into the world the light, the warmth of the sun. That like fire, we can burn off that which is impure, that which is tainted, and let it rise to the sky. that like wind, we spread the ashes of what is left behind to the furthest reaches, so that like our ancestors before us, those first humans whose blood flows in our veins and whose DNA vibrates across time through our bodies and works, that we can act as the earth and grow and plant the seeds of our new world together. Thank you for your time, and I'm done.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those great words. Thank you for the fantastic work you're doing at FANA at the United Nations of all places. And it's really great to be engaging with that institution, not as the poor indigenous folks that come in looking for someone to help us out with all of the horrible things that are happening to us, but as a powerful institution that's not there to ask for anything, but to instruct them in how things will be moving forward in the future. So Katapatos, thank you very much, Ambassador, for all of your work for the Federation. I see the man of the hour has come into the room next to you. So Chief Yanaguska, there has been a specific request by Ambassador O'Neill that you would come and speak a little bit more in particular about the recent treaty that was signed. And then after your remarks, I'll give very brief remarks before we close out our session. But I turn it back over to you, Chief Yanaguska.
For those that are listening, you'll have to bear with me. This is going to be extemporaneous, so it might be a little bit rambling, and I have a tendency to be long-winded. Ambassador O'Neill has done a magnificent job. A year. We're actually a year and a week from when we began negotiations with the SCNI in Mexico. And those were not just standard discussions because there's translation issues. We put a team of attorneys on the ground to dig through public records, to interview chiefs, to look at stamps and make sure that founding documents were in place, etc. And he's modest when he says 39 million people and 69 dialects and 68 tribes. They are the largest confederation that we have found in Mexico. And historically, it's a beautiful marriage to have both that, the SCNI Confederation, come in to treaty with us at the same time that the global Lenca became part of FANA. The magnitude of this is, from a historical standpoint, almost incomprehensible. The attorneys turned in separate legal reports, and while His Excellency the Ambassador says 39 million, the reports ranged from 39.5 million to 49 million, their head count. From a historical standpoint, when you put that together with what Her Excellency, the Vice Prime Minister, mentioned about the amount of people in the charge of SOAD, the 80 million persons in treaty with FANA around the globe is actually, it's a really low estimate. If we were to take the full number of the charge of SOAD that they're given for the diaspora worldwide, I only took 35 million of their 300 million charge, just a rough 10% to combine together to get a figure of where we're at. The negotiations for this particular treaty were probably the most extensive that I've been involved in with FANA. It required translation. It required attorneys to go to Mexico City and verify documents, to move those documents over to Lord Thomas, who I believe he speaks 6 languages, including Portuguese and Spanish fluently. And he went through all the documents himself that the other attorneys dug up and sent to him. He did the translations and verified everything. So it's a remarkable undertaking, but it shows that when you're working under the direction of the Creator and with the guidance of the ancestors, and the timing is perfect and you stay in flow, then we move forward. I will tell you in advance, like I said, I wasn't understating. We have another 9 tribes in queue for 2026. There just wasn't enough time this year between all of the treaties that we did with SOAD and the work that we did on Mexico. I don't know how Ambassador O'Neill did it because he's also the president of the joint bank between SOAD and FANA, and he also runs his own platform and has got to provide for his family. And he's like Orville. They're always on a plane. I want to put little tracking dots on them because sometimes he's in Brazil, sometimes he's in Mexico, sometimes he's in Ireland, sometimes he's in Switzerland. And Lord Thomas is the same way. We have a ridiculously talented crew, all of which are committed to rectifying the issues of the past, and that's really the focus of the ministry that FANA has. We want those old connections. We want our relatives back. We want the relationship. We have had discussions with SCNI. They will be signing the complete suite of treaties that SOAD has signed. So we will be linked with them for commerce, health and wellness, banking, judicial, all of those things. They're all being translated. So throughout 2026, those treaties will be coming out as they're translated and approved by Her Excellency Rosa. We're honored. They saw the value in us. We saw the value in them. And everybody just wants to be affiliated. From a long-term perspective, I would expect that the small number on affiliation between FANA and our treaty allies, as well as our internal chiefs, by summer, we can safely say that we'll be well above 125 million affiliated and cross-treated. 80 is a low number. I know what's coming in from South America and Central America and other parts of the world that are already underway. Treaties have been sent to so many nations that have said yes, but we literally did not have the manpower to process everything. I will tell you that in the dialogue with SCNI and Rosa in particular, they intimated to me that the socio-political status in Mexico is quite problematic within the 2 years before and us meeting them and now they had a number of their chiefs assassinated. So moving paperwork had to be done by hand. Naturally, electronically doesn't work because most of the larger countries have the ability to hack and get a hold of these lists. So we had to do eyes on to make sure that nobody got killed in the process. And they stepped up to the plate. They had wanted to come up here and do the signing themselves. And I actually said no because I was concerned that the current administration would round them up, send them back, and they wouldn't necessarily make it back to their own people. So as our people from around the world, the indigenous, continue to advance, while we're very happy, the dominant society is not as happy. We've had advanced discussions that when we hit a certain number above 100 million, we plan on approaching the UN for indigenous seats. I think Ambassador Cosme spoke on that. There's going to be a lot of good stuff coming. The hard work that Ambassador O'Neill put in is I can't understate it because this man works more than I do. And I told him the other day, I said, if you don't slow down, you're going to look like me. So, his wife is fabulously supportive and, well, it's true. I don't think there's a time when I pick up the phone, depending on where you are in the world, that I don't get you on a call back within 10 minutes. So he keeps hours that Orville keeps, that I keep, and if something comes across our desk, we just get it done, whether we're sick or not. He's a testament to his family lineage. I'm quite proud to say that I have spent some time talking with his mom, and she was fabulous to chat with. So, thank you very much, Ambassador O'Neill, and to your mother and father. Thank you for having him. This is not I don't get all of this done because I can't go everywhere. But we have put together such a team. And like I said, that team, nobody in the ministry takes money. Nobody's ever even gotten $5 for gas. This is a labor of love based upon genealogy and understanding of the current situation with the creator and the ancestors and where the energy is moving going forward. And I try and stay in flow with what the creator and the ancestors want. So it's a matter of being able to identify these things. FANA's got a bright future. I really hope that other indigenous nations in North America uh, begin dialogue, because in North America there's roughly 8 million uh, indigenous, and we've already booked 80 million around the globe, and that's a conservative. We could actually literally sit here and say it's 150 million already, but we cut it in half to make sure that nobody could critique the number. So to all the chiefs that have allowed me this opportunity, thank you very much. And for all the people that I work with, like Ambassador Scott and Ambassador O'Neill, I am so honored to know you guys. And I want to live an extra 40 years just so I can hang out with you. And for Ambassador Scott, who is part Scottish, I want that free scotch. I haven't forgot about that for 9 going on 10 years. And you will give me that 3-finger glass that you promised me 5 years ago. But we're going to have that drink with the families at a location where we feel good and can relax, and the wives can get to know each other and understand why their men have sacrificed so much time. So thank you, chiefs. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you for letting me ramble again, Chief Two Hawks. There's a reason why I don't discuss what we're doing. I keep all the cards close to the chest because not everybody wants us to succeed. But I will say to the FANA chiefs, when is the last time that you saw me in a formal coat? There you go. Nobody remembers when I put on a coat. And this morning when I was getting dressed, she said, "You're going to get a coat on." And I said, "Well, Garen's going to wear a coat because I want to look at least half as good as Garen." And she said, "Any other chief's going to wear a coat?" I don't know. But I can't show up with the ambassadors in coats and me wearing some kind of a open collar golf shirt. So thank you. Thank you all for putting up with me. And the Sandhill are very proud to be part of FANA. We're honored to associate with such a grand global gathering. Uh, for Dr. Savan, I know it's like 3 or 4 a.m. where you're at. Thank you for sitting around and looking good and delivering your part. You know, it's that shows you the testament to the working ethic that we have in the ministry. We have ambassadors and visitors literally from all continents, regardless of time zone. They're all here. We're all tied together with FANA. And for those that aren't part of FANA, come and take a look. You know, we're open. You know, we're not pretentious, but we don't bend the knee. We believe that all indigenous tribes are the same. There is no superior tribe. There is no we're the only natives in North America. North America is part of a global indigenous society, and FANA plans on moving that global indigenous society into the halls of power. And we will have a vote, and we will have seats at the United Nations, and we will talk to the various governments, and we will fold in tribes from India, and we will expand our presence in Africa, and we will move through Central and South America, linking the indigenous in all those countries together. And I think you're going to see quite a few more tribes come in from south of the United States over the next 9 months. Thank you very much, all of you, and blessings to you and your family.
Thank you very much, Chief, for those very, very good words. And just for bringing, really great context on not only where we're at, but where the Federation is heading. And I have the honor and pleasure of just giving closing remarks. First of all, to all of the representatives from the various nations, to our ambassadors that are here, to SOAD representatives, our Garifuna Nation representative, to all of the chiefs from the Federation. Thank you. Katapatush. I keep saying it in our language and Narragansett. Katapatush means thank you. Profoundly from the bottom of my heart, from my spirit. When we initially started this, I think Toregwa said it so well. We just had the audacity to think that something was possible and then to act on it. And I think that that is so important. And it's really what I want to share. And I want to share this because I see so many names in this list that I'm not aware of. But for any of the representatives from any other nations that are out there that might have just tuned in just to see what's going on, that might have been a little surprised that the Federation's been around 10 years. And then maybe you hopped on the call when you heard some things that just sound like it can't be real, but it is. And maybe you're thinking, what should you all be doing? This term was utilized today, and I really want those nations that are tuning in today to listen when I say this. Your sovereignty is inherent. It exists because you exist. It doesn't exist because you went and you begged the colonial state to agree that you are who you already know that you are, and they went through some legislative process, and at the tail end of it came out after they dragged you through 5, 10, 15 years of providing evidence to prove who they know who you already are and that you know who you already are. That is not sovereignty. And if you look into the case law, especially here in the US, they tell you it's not sovereignty. They call us quasi-sovereigns when we do that. They call us domestic dependent nations. But what I do not hear in any of that terminology is an inherent sovereign. Why? Because they can't grant you inherent sovereignty. They can only limit it by your acquiescence or your agreement. So for those nations that are out there still chasing after a state recognition status, still chasing after a federal recognition status, on behalf of the Federation, I want to offer you the hand of respect, because that is all that we can offer you is respect, but you first have to respect yourself and stop going on your knees to people who have not been doing the right thing since they first engaged with us and pleading and begging with them to do the right thing. That is a fool's task. And at this point, with everything that FANA has accomplished, if your nation continues to choose that path, then you choose it willingly. And you accept everything that comes along with it, and you will have to stand before Creator and answer to those generations who come after you while you saw something like FANA existing and you chose to go down a different route. Chief Yanaguska said it very well. Every nation that is in FANA is an equal nation. We do not discriminate on the basis of gender. We do not discriminate on the basis of territoriality. Once you are accepted as a FANA member nation, you are amongst the circle. And you are not only respected as such, but you are expected as such. And that means that you will conduct yourself accordingly. You will uphold the integrity of your own nation, but also the Federation. But most importantly, that you will help us to continue on this journey that Creator has allowed us to start. So to all of the nations that are out there listening, if you are in the space, reach out and let's have some conversation. This is the path. This is the way. I'm not saying it to discourage anyone from going any other route. I'm saying it because, as you can see, this path is working. So why not come along with us? We are open to all of the nations that are out there that come in a good way, as they say, that are the people that you say you are, because we've run into a lot of that as well. And that's what the vetting process is all about. But we know that you all are out there, and we know that we can help as the Federation. So please reach out. Let's have some discussion. Let's see what the relationship most appropriate is. If it's FANA member nation status, then let's start looking at that. If it's treaty, then let's start looking at that. But the door is open. The path is laid out in front of us, and you can see the individuals are here to make it happen. So please reach out. This is what the Federation's for. This is why we started it. And in our language, in the Narragansett, we say Pishkanash. That is, I do hope to see you all soon. With that being said, once again, thank you all for coming out to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Charter of the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. Hopefully, at the 20-year mark, the gray beards won't be too much more expansive here, but I can't make any promises. But I hope that at the 20-year mark, we're not at just 9 FANA member nations. Maybe we're at 90. With a whole bunch more treaties, with seats at the United Nations, with our banking, all of those things that we're talking about. I fully expect that with Creator's blessing and Creator's will, when we come back together again in 10 years, we'll be talking about how we spoke about these things 10 years ago, and here they are in reality. To you all, I wish you all blessings as you head in your different directions. May Creator continue to guide and direct you, and more importantly, be open to Creator's guidance and protection. If we are unwilling to be within His space and within His spirit, He will let us go. And it is a lonely and a detrimental place to be outside of Creator's protection and guidance. So please be open to that. Honor the old ways and let us move forward with the integrity that our ancestors did that allowed us to be here. I will send everyone off with the opening slideshow that we played earlier. And Katapatush Wuchia Chusuta, thank you very much for listening, everyone, this evening. Pishkanash, we hope to see you all soon. And Woody Mosquito Ka Aquani, good medicine and peace be unto you all.
Katapatush, Yahweh, Katantuit, Numani Tuman. Katapatush Wichi, Kin Wuni. Katapatush Wichi, Kenomu, Yeshua. Katapatush Wichi Wami, no money took, no took soak. Kosotayumu, Wichi Kin, Musukin Ka Kawayantam. Kin Nita, to Butni. Ninwayan, Yahweh, Katantuit, Numani Tuman. Ninwayan, Wichi at Chusuta. Ninwayan, Wichi Kin.
Well,
Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Ya way ya ho way yo. Ya way ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way yo ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Way ya hey ya. Hey yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Ya way ya. Way ya ho way yo. Ya way ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey ha. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Ya way ya. Way ya ho way yo. Ya way ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya ho way yo. Hey. Way ya hey ya. Way yo hey ya hey ya. Way ya hey ya ho way yo. Hey ya hey yo. Way ya hey ya. Way ya